Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to have a great show for you, but we had to change guests because, well, to be honest with you, I just couldn't get a hold of David Spinks. It happens sometimes. People forget. And I think that's what happened here. So Terry Hall is going to fill in with us. Grant Baker is going to join us in hour number 2 and 3. And we have each and every one of you. So that still makes a pretty damn good show, if you ask me. But then again, I am biased. Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position. Race Fan with a silver. T-Bone with a bronze medal tonight. As we scroll on down to say good morning to Skip to Malou. Skip to Malou will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Let's say hello to Robert Lamoth and Race Fan. Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because Terry Hall literally said, I am not coming on early unless Mel lubes me up. So Mel is right now at Terry's house lubing him up as we speak. Mel, don't forget to give yourself a shot tonight. We appreciate it. Shane Gord, how are you doing? And Necessary Dialogue, K17 Odd. Trucker Andrew, nice to have you here. Anthony, how you doing? How you doing? I don't know which Dave you sent. Was that me or the other Dave? Luscious Jules, how are you? Nice to see you. And let's scroll on down. Let's scroll on down a little bit more. There's Frankie B. And who else do we have here? Well, a lot of kitty caddywhack. Flubber Lane has returned. How you doing? And Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, nice to see you. Lover. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show as we scroll on down to say hello to Tim Mothman and his goatee. Tim Mothman and his goatee will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Undead Jed, nice to have you here. Pam Harris, nice to see you. Walter Kochabinski, honest content. Candace Helfrich, looking lovely tonight. Chris Black, how you doing? Dr. Bob, always a pleasure. Evan Walters, guess what? You're pissing me off, Evan Walters. Pissing me off. What's happening here tonight? All right. Brent Von Owen, how you doing? Welcome to SOR Chat again. And let's see, who else is here? Evan Walters, you're pissing me off. Robert Lamont, yeah, said you. Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got aliens. Kurt M, nice to see you. And who else is here? Who else is here? I don't know. Jay Truth, how you doing? Deanna Ann, looking gorgeous tonight. Yes, you are. All right, moving on. I think we're caught up. Terry Hall and your gorgeous mustache, we're caught up. Yeah. I'm sure there's some people out there who just haven't said hello yet, but they'll be by. Oh, yes, they will be by. Let's get the radio side going. Come on. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you joining us as we're going to talk some UFOs and weird stories. Terry Hall from the Weird Desk is here, and we love it when he's here. We're in roll call on our YouTube side right now as we say hello to Millennium, my man. How are you? Level Plane Productions, how you doing? And number 48 in your program tonight, starting at right wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Janssen. There he is. Doing well in the playoffs. Good job, Lars. Super Chat is open. It is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. Jerence Carter. How you doing, Jerence? Deborah Rooney, nice to see you as we prepare for tonight's show. Throw those horns up, everybody. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shh. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin knows. We're together, friends. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Caribou Con. Go to cariboucon.com for a great weekend of paranormal entertainment in the heart of British Columbia. Tickets are on sale right now. We are talking UFOs. We are talking a little bit of paranormal, a little bit of everything tonight. From our Weird Desk, Terry Hall and his beautiful mustache are going to join us to talk about what is really going on in the UFO world. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us with another spooky story. The UFO Report with Grant Baker will go on indeed as well. Now, this gentleman, you know him from our Weird News of the Week. He is a great entertainer, a great storyteller. He's got a fantastic mustache and beautiful hair. He lives in one of the area's most UFO'd world. Yeah. Did that even make sense? UFO storied world. There we go. Near McMinnville, Oregon, home of a very famous case. In fact, Terry lives in that home and on that property. But we're always glad to have him here because his knowledge is second to none, and we're going to bring him in right now. Terry Hall, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how you doing, Dave?
I am good. Now, we did have paranormal investigator David Spinks supposed to come on tonight, but he could not make it. So we had to get you to fill on in, and I really appreciate you taking the time for our audience tonight, my man.
First off, just let me start off by saying I hope that he's okay. Hope everything's all right. But it happens. It happens. But that leaves the door open for other things. So, Dave, here recently, well, I tell you what I did. You know me, I like to study, I like to play around with things. I asked ChatGPT, what the main takeaway from the whole UFO thing is, as far as it was concerned. Yeah. ChatGPT's main takeaway of the entire situation as of late is that it has gone from whether UFOs are real. Let's see. How did that sum it up? Let me go back here real quick. I've got it right here. Let's see. The conversation has moved from questioning if UFOs exist to determining what they are, and the U.S. government acknowledging hundreds of unresolved cases. You know what? I think it goes back a lot farther than that. It's right in the intro to your show. It was one of my favorite people of all time, whether he was in a Western, whether he was making jokes, or whether he was being serious, and said, the one thing that can kind of set us all, keep us from being Russians and Ukrainians and Chinese and Americans to being Earthlings, was if something from off-world came here. Dave, Nick Pope made a documentary months before he passed away. It's called Dark Disclosure. I don't know if you've seen it yet or not.
I have not.
But he delves into the side of disclosure that would be, the monumental stuff that the government really couldn't disclose. Like, these things are from our quote unquote enemies, Russia and China. How would they come out and say that they've made leaps and bounds, or if the aliens were going to come here to eat us, to serve man? It's a cookbook, right? But even Chat GPT has gotten to the point now with the whole UFO thing that, okay, they're here. Now, on the other side of the government thing, I've been doing some research lately, getting me and a few other people, and we found out basically that our government does have the ability, and it has had the ability at 4 different times, that they've conquered anti-gravity. It's been brought up and shot down 4 separate times. As a matter of fact, that young scientist, that young lady Amy, if her, according to what she was saying, if her project would have come to a completion, it was anti-gravity again. T. Townsend Brown, they had tons of stories in the newspapers all about anti-gravity and space and this, that, and the other until 1954, and then they just disappeared. Well, T. Townsend Brown, that was his first publication that he had conquered anti-gravity. As it turned out, T. Townsend Brown had figured out how to make things float, but he could never put a steering wheel on it. We found the scientist that was able to figure out how to put a steering wheel on it. So not only can they make it float, but now they can make it drive. It was done by a group of research scientists down in the Nassau area, Bahamas and so forth, in the late 60s and early 70s. It's not hard to find. Once you start knowing what to look for, you can find it. The internet is forever. And they keep saying that the 10 scientists, Dave, have disappeared. 10 scientists have disappeared. Well, guys, that was clear. They reported on that clear back on September 30th of 2025. The number has grown quite a bit since then. And every time something happens in this field now, it turns into a big conspiracy theory. We just lost someone who, I may not have agreed with the man or what his sentiments were towards things or the company that he kept. David Wilcock, may he rest in peace, was determined it was him by the coroner. And now it's another. Well, they're tying him in with these scientists and everything. All of these missing people now, and generals and scientists and research people. I don't know, Dave. I'm starting to wonder if I should be worried about who's knocking on my door.
Well, I think, let's talk a little bit about that, because very popular, I don't want to call him a ufologist. Let's call him a spiritualist and a conscious life advocate. David Wilcock, unfortunately, took his own life a couple of days ago. Apparently, he had been having a lot of issues mentally, emotionally, and financially that may have led to this happening just outside of Boulder, Colorado, where he lived. And according to what I have learned, this is a gentleman, and I've never met him, but this was a gentleman who over the years had become a best-selling New York Times author. He was very popular on social media. He was very popular on Gaia television for a long time. He was somebody who, was on Ancient Aliens. He did numerous documentaries. He was on the speaker circuit. It's very rare for somebody to be able to make a living in this field, and he was able to make a living. And unfortunately, sometimes when life gets rough, he did suffer from depression, anxiety, and other mental illness. And he decided, I guess, that enough was enough because he owed the IRS allegedly over $1.5 million, never mind his other debts. And apparently he lost almost $5 million on a bad investment that looks more and more like it's going to be considered a Ponzi scheme and probably go to court for that. And that's a big chunk, man. Now, like I said, I don't know the guy. There were people in this field who absolutely loved him. There were people who absolutely despised him and felt he was grifting off of people's sensitivities and their wants for a better life. But you're right. This field is taking a lot of pressure on people right now, whether it's government officials, whistleblowers, whether it's, people in the field. We've lost in the last little while, we lost Eric Von Daniken. We've lost Nick Pope. It's been a tough year in 2026 in ufology, my friend.
And there's a few ufologists. Stanton Friedman was one. We have some very, very intelligent people in this field. Physicists, scientists. I mean, I've had them out in the field with me before. People from colleges, universities, scientists, teachers, and professors with tenure at major universities. It's out there. Most of the guys that I spoke with when we were out in the field together, they said if they ever had the opportunity, they would do everything open sourced and live streamed. So in case something did go sideways, at least it would be pretty much public knowledge almost immediately. There's someone that's been in the UFO field for a long time. He's been on YouTube forever. Jeremy. He's a very smart individual and knows all about this kind of stuff. I mean, you've got more and more of these guys coming out right now saying, look, I'm happy. I'm not going to end myself. I like where I'm at right now and I'm staying here. And then all of a sudden they leave their glasses on the desk and their phone behind and they take a walk out in the middle of the field and they disappear. It's getting really weird.
You bring up a good point. I don't mean to cut you off, but you bring up a good point. I want to stick with ufology outside of the scientists right now.
Mm-hmm.
A number of years ago, let's say prior to the popularity of this subject, say the last 3-4 years that has really taken off in mainstream, we never heard of this type of pressure being handled. We never heard of people being so trite and criticizing people. We never heard of, the grifting aspect of everything where, if you make $1 in this field, you get blamed as a grifter, and trying to snagglepuss people around. We never heard that. And it seems the more and more this subject grows on social media, we are seeing more and more. Many people try to blame this, saying, oh, there's government agents all over X that are really stirring the pot here and kicking the can around people. There are people who believe that this subject has been taken over by certain factions of the UFO group, and we're not going to be able to get things done because of the fact that we have this story going on. There are a lot of people out there who believe, Terry, that we cannot make things happen, okay, because there is too much division within this UFO community. What is your thoughts of all of this?
I've learned this by experience, Dave, because you took the ride with me. And when we started, Tim Senor and I, we went to when Tim got introduced into this whole thing. He was introduced to it in a very harsh way. But once he was in and had a little bit of counseling and was able to meet people like who are in your chat and are here with us, he found that he was comfortable enough to start talking about this. So we went to our first UFO conference together in Vernal, Utah. On the way home from that trip, we came up with this harebrained idea that we were going to build an RV, put some equipment in it, and start going to hotspots. You were with us throughout that entire ride. What was really weird about that, Dave, was still to this day, I still don't feel like that was either one of our ideas. That was something that was, Tim was brought into this for a reason. At the time that he was brought in, he was kind of sucked into the whole thing. He was one of the chosen. We came up with this idea for an RV, and within a few months, we were on the road with it. It was amazing. We got to the point to where synchronicities, they just weren't synchronicities anymore. Wasn't coincidence. It was there. It was going to happen. Anything that we needed just fell into our lap. It was awesome. Went out on that first trip. We had a ball. We had we got great footage. We met awesome people. We got to go places that we never thought that we'd get to go to. Within a year after that first trip, before our second major excursion, the phone started ringing. And it was producers and directors and networks. And it went from something that we took great joy in and really enjoyed ourselves when we went out to it put so much division in the group that it just dissolved. So I feel this way about this whole thing now. There's a force out there that's driving this. It's bringing people in who never really thought about UFOs, but all of a sudden it's their entire life. It's captivated them. It's brought them in, and now they have a job to do, which I believe that's why they were brought in. There's a job that they need to do. They'll keep you whole enough to where you have the funds and things to do what you need to do. I even believe that much of it. But there's also another side of this that's trying to side rail it as hard as they can. And I mean, now when Tim and I did that RV, we were the first people to ever put one out there. It was kind of proof in the pudding. They're everywhere now. Everybody's got these things now. The Tedesco brothers are out there. There's all kinds of people out there with these things now. Great. I'm happy about that. But what I find concerning is even some of the footage that we took out on our trips where we knew what we were looking at and it wasn't a UFO. It just looked really cool on a certain kind of camera. I've seen I've seen that footage on TV shows. And I've learned all about the stagecraft that these shows put on to keep it interesting. It's stagecraft. A lot of it is stagecraft. So people like you, people like Tom King, people like Dave Mason, people like Tim, we're all important, but it's not we've got to get past looking for the government for answers, even though we've got it in Congress now and they're doing all these meetings, and we got Europe, and even Canada is talking about it now. Canada has always been tight-lipped about the subject. You asked a Canadian about UFOs and they just never talked about it. That's until Hellier came out anyway. And then after Hellier, it went quiet again. So there's that side of this thing,
until it went quiet until Larry Maguire, the member of Parliament, started talking about this subject, and now he has retired from politics. And really, you're right, it has gone quiet again. So that does make sense.
Yeah, And it's an up and down roller coaster, but we're coming to a point now to where there's enough of the public who are driving this subject to where I don't think they're going to be able to put the toothpaste back in as hard as they're trying, because they're derailing the public's efforts for disclosure, actively derailing the public's efforts for disclosure. I've experienced it personally, and I will testify to it. You can set me in court and I'll put my hand on a Bible. I will testify to it. So it's with these scientists disappearing, with what we found out about anti-gravitics. I mean, it's not hard to discover this kind of stuff. The government has this kind of thing. Stephen Greer is justified when he comes out and says it could be a false flag invasion. Werner von Braun said the same thing. Ask Carol Rosin about it one time if you ever talk to her again. She'll tell you that Werner von Braun said that after we figured out how these guys keep wars going, the only thing they're going to have left is if we get invaded from out there. Now that they have the technology to do it, we're kind of stuck.
I agree with you on that, Terry. But you know, one of the other things that I look at when it comes to, you know, the people involved in this field is there, you know, in a lot of different areas, you look for teamwork. There is very, very little teamwork within this field. Now we can nitpick absolutely everything, but how much farther would the field be if we were sharing information, sharing sources, you know, looking at this in a utopic, rainbow colored lenses where everything is happy and hearty?
That was the entire weird thing about the whole UFO, about the whole RV thing, Dave. Anything that we needed. Okay, to start the whole thing off, I figured if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. Let's talk to the guy who ran the first STARS team for Bob Bigelow. He was the original guy he had a STARS team. They were flying out. They were going here and there where the hot spots were. I called him up and I said, sir, and by the way, I've got his book. I said, if you were going to go out and research UFOs, how would you do it? I mean, with what equipment would you use? He gave me a blueprint. Every place that we went, we were meeting people that had done every bit of their best to make sure that they were in separate rooms, or if they were in the same building, working together and actually communicating with one another. And then all of a sudden, I mean, everybody from movie stars that you would not believe had anything to do with this subject. Like one of the funniest comedian movie stars I've ever, I mean, in life we met. And he was wanting to do a show all about this kind of stuff. And oh man, he's funny. But people like Rich Hoffman, he was more than willing to work with us. It just seemed like everybody who we spoke to while we were doing this was very willing to help. People who I fanboyed over for years. I've got their phone number. I've talked to them. They're great people. I don't know if the reason that people don't work together, I think the reason that people don't work together, Dave, is just because they simply don't reach out and talk to one another. It's a lot easier to cast aspersions than it is to pick up a phone and say, you know what? We might not have gotten along, but we need to do this together.
Terry, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are through 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. And when we return from the break with Terry Hall, the mustachioed one, we are going to get into one of the big questions that we ponder in the UFO world. Are we ready for disclosure? This is a big question that's been going on for the last month or so. Let's check that on out. All right, we're clear. Everybody, I did get a message from Dave Spinks about 45 minutes before showtime. He had a pipe burst in his house.
Oh,
And he got it fixed. And so we have rescheduled him for May 6th. So a couple weeks time. He apologizes to everybody, but there was nothing he could do.
no, I'm just glad that he's okay. That's good to know. Good to know. Thanks for the update. You were killing me, Smalls. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. No, did Jim Goodall make a post about me? Let me go check. Jim Goodall. Let's take a look here.
You mean that crazy Corvette driving
Oh, yeah.
SR-71 building?
I don't see any post about me. Where was it?
No, I talked to Jim one time about his vet. Jim's always got a black Corvette, and I said, "Do you ever feel the need for speed in that thing?" And he said, "No, I think the fastest I ever had this one to was 187 miles an hour." So not only did he build an SR-71, but he drives like he's still sitting in a cockpit of one of those things. I love Jim. He is so infectious.
Yeah, he's a good man, that little Jimmy Goodall.
I tell you what,
T-Bone, thank you very much for the super chat.
you have the best people
Oh,
in your audience, man. Just the best. This is my happy place.
So my son's best friend got a guitar.
Yeah.
And now they've decided that they're starting out a band.
Oh, right on.
And they're like, "Hey, Dad," my boy's like, "Hey, Dad, you mind if we go down, we practice our band here?" I'm like, "Son, you go downstairs, you turn them speakers up, and you rock the fuck out of that downstairs. I don't care.
There we go.
I don't care if you know a single note." And then I reminded him about what Dave Grohl said about Nirvana, because he hates all these television shows that are, that are trying to, give people an
Yeah.
And Dave Grohl says, like with Nirvana, just go in the garage and suck for a while. And after about 6 months to a year, you're going to start seeing improvement. And within 2 years, you may find that you're the next Nirvana.
My son, his band, they practice out in the cabana. They practiced when he was in high school. And they started off in the summertime, and by the end of that year, the end of the school year, they were actually playing Green Day in their auditorium. So
Good.
They'll suck for a little while, Dave, but they'll get their stuff together, man.
The freaking awesome paranormal. Love the show from Virginia. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that.
Yeah, well, the thing about Spaced Out is Dave interviews everybody. The good, the bad, and the ugly. See where I'm going?
The ugly, we call that Grant Baker, right?
Dude, no way. Grant Baker looks...
He's way too handsome. Grant Baker's way too handsome.
Dude, I thought he was Dean Winchester.
Right.
I really did. The first time I saw it, I was like, how did he get Dean Winchester on Spaced Out Radio?
Let's see here.
Joe said he was in a garage band that turned into 6 albums. Right on.
All right, my friend, we're coming back in just a couple of seconds. Thank you to freaking awesome T-Bone, Area 54, and Amy for the great super chats. We really do appreciate your love and support, everybody. It helps us out. Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so make sure you check it on out. And, of course, Caribou Con is coming on up in September. You got to get your tickets. You need to get your tickets right now. Right now, cariboucon.com. Here we go. We are into the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Terry Hall is our guest. We're going to define what disclosure is, because for a lot of people out there, disclosure means something different to everyone. Some people, Terry, already feel that they have disclosure because they've seen things for themselves. Other people believe that, when we've heard the president talking about it, the former president talking about it, all the government officials talking about it, that's disclosure. There are people who believe that the threat narrative, that the aliens are bad, we got to put nuclear weapons in space. Thank you, Tom DeLonge from Blink 182. That is disclosure. And much, much more. Terry, so I'm going to ask you the point blank question. What is disclosure?
Honestly, Dave, I don't know anymore. I mean, okay, Roswell happened, and all of a sudden we started getting all of these novels and movies and things about aliens. Conditioning, right? Conditioning. Disclosure, it's so hard to pin down anymore, because I've had my experiences. I've talked to a lot of people who's had their own experiences. I've seen footage that blows my mind. I've got footage that I have no idea what it was floating around up there, but it was something floating around up there. What I think with disclosure, Dave, what it boils down to is the questions that come after it, right? Gee, Grantamius Max is in the house.
We are joined by Grant Baker as well from the UFO Report, hopping in early, literally looking like he just shopped at the Gap. So it's nice to have you here, Grant. How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me early tonight.
Yeah, it's good. We're asking Terry, and we'll get your opinion in a minute here, about disclosure. What is the actual definition of disclosure? Because I think there is a lot of confusion in the UFO world of what it's about. But Terry, I want you to continue with your answer.
Okay, so with disclosure, I think the problem with disclosure, the questions that follow up. Okay, aliens, there's something out there. What are they? Let's go back to Nick Pope and dark disclosure. What is the dark side of revealing extraterrestrial life? It may be frightening, or that humanity is part of some simulation or experiment. Or do you want them to tell us about that? If we're some kind of experiment, do you really want to know? It could be that some conspiracy theorists link it to political campaigns. If that breeding program that they were talking about is really something out there, and all of a sudden we find out that our world leaders are hybrids, do we really want to know that? But I think what happens, Dave, is I'd really like to have some little device sitting over on my table over there that powered my car and powered my house and heated my water and everything else. And if they do tell us that these things are coming from out there somewhere, what powers them? How'd they get here? What is the power source? it's got to be something that maybe they knew about when they were building pyramids. Maybe that's something that if disclosure comes around, we're going to find out that there was pre-Adamite civilizations here, that those those are actually timepieces that they built knowing that the stone would last and that they've been here for 20,000 years. So prior to the Younger Dryas period, maybe they figured out a different source of energy. They had to have, because they were building with stones. The way they built stuff, they built that like that because it was easy for them. Just as easy as it is for us to put up a skyscraper.
And most likely easier. We look back at some of the texts that they're writing back there. Our ancient megalithic structures that we have here, including the pyramids, Göbekli Tepe, you name it, they're all over the place, including in our oceans. Almost every single landmass in the world has a pyramid somewhere on it, and not just the big ones in Egypt and Cairo. So they're starting to find out that some of these stones, and especially certain other ancient megalithic structures, where the stones meet each other so precisely that they're almost poured into existence. And it shows an ability and a knowledge that we have yet to figure out in this day and age. And there's a lot of people talking about it. It's all over. You hear people like Jeff Dunn talking about it, and it's just an amazing feat that they pulled off. And a lot of people are starting to realize that these are probably our ancient ancestors that go back 20,000 plus years or more. And these are structures that they left with knowledge, and all they're waiting for, or all those structures are waiting for, is somebody to figure out how to unlock them. And I think that's where we're at when it comes to those. And I like where you're going with the disclosure. I mean, there's really, for most people in the UAP UFO world, we're looking at disclosure, and it's generally achieved when a government moves beyond just acknowledging unidentified objects and beginning to release actual sensor data, radar, multispectral videos, wreckage analysis, tags and tracks of specific craft. I mean, if you want the absolute definition of disclosure, it's the transition of the UAP UFO NHI topic from a classified or intelligence matter to a transparent and literally scientifically very verifiable fact of human history. And once we get to that step, instead of what they're doing right now, which we all say is controlled disclosure, and that's basically a multi-year, and this a multi-decade strategic release, of information designed to prevent what they call ontological shock. We've heard people say that, where the society collapses. And because there is a truth behind a catastrophic disclosure. And so what they're trying to do is drip feed us, in my mind, Terry, and I think we've talked about this on many occasions, and what would happen if there was a catastrophic disclosure, where it's a sudden uncontrolled leak of evidence, besides whistleblowers, but there's mass sightings that forces the governments and the people that have this knowledge at hand to finally admit, okay, yeah, they're here, by the way. Yeah, they're in our skies. And short of having Independence Day type reckoning, where all these motherships are hanging over important cities. So I'm hoping that they speed it up, though.
There's another side to this, though. It's you've still got scientists and fundamentalists, right?
Right.
You still got the guys who are saying these things are demons, and you still got other guys saying no, they're not. They're not demons, right? And what's funny is the guys who are saying it's demons, if they would turn to the Vatican, the Pope's already said, hey, man, if they come here, I'll bless them too. You know what I mean? So,
well, they did say that they were cool with it. And that's dumbing it down, quite frankly. But I mean, you look at the Vatican vaults that they have there, I guarantee they know way more than what they're leading on when it comes to this kind of phenomenon.
I think it boils more down to, we're just not going to be the top of the food chain anymore. I mean, human beings, everything on this planet's built to kill us. That's why we're so warlike, and we've had to fight for everything from day one.
But here's the thing, guys, with disclosure, you look at how much different disclosure definitions there are out there. the regular public is getting confused because if you're somebody who is brand new to this subject because you've been watching it on News Nation or Newsmax or Fox or CNN, you're taking a deliberate look at a very, very tiny portion of what disclosure is. You're not looking at the big picture of what everything is actually going on in the world. When you hear Tim Burchett go on the line and fear-mongering with a sentence basically saying, if the public knew what I knew, they'd burn the world down, or something along those lines, paraphrasing. I mean, there has been some scary talk from some of these politicians regarding this. And yet you talk to anybody who's had ET contact, 84% of people, according to the Free Experiencers Project that was set up by the sixth man to walk on the moon, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, 84% of people say that their ET contact was great and they'd love to have it happen again. A portion of that was, I don't know. Then the rest was negative. So who are we supposed to believe? We got, I mean, for the last 9 years, guys, it's been 9 years, okay, that we've been hearing aliens are bad, that we need, whether it's Lou Elizondo or Ryan Graves or anybody trying to make a buck off this field, we've heard them say that, this is a threat. They are a threat. This is a threat narrative. Is a threat narrative disclosure? Or is it the people who are actually being abducted and having a good time wherever they are? Okay. Is that something that is disclosure? So that is the big question mark over this whole topic. What is disclosure? Because look, we know we're not going to get the stories that we want. We're not going to find out the original video from the Holloman Air Force Base landing. We're not going to know whether or not Eisenhower traded humans for technology in 53. We're never going to know whether or not they'll admit Bob Lazar worked at Area 51 or everything in between. So really, what is disclosure, Grant?
I think what's going on today is a lot of people need to slow down on what they're looking at when it comes over their news media feeds, wherever they're getting their information from. Because you have places like Arrow, which comes from the Pentagon, and they're the ones that are often using threat language, the focus on what they can't identify. And I mean, there is a usefulness in there because there's official updates on what the military is actually tracking. And then you have people like Avi Loeb, the Galileo Project, and it's unfiltered data. It's free from government classifications. They can't stop it from coming out, even though there's not a lot of information coming from that sector. Then we look at the whistleblowers, and it's just like, take it with a grain of salt, to pull away from it what you want. And realistically, when it comes down to this, yeah, you're right. We're not going to get declassification of everything all at once. There's money to be had here. It's kind of like big pharma. They're going to tax the living heck out of people on a new drug that they create until their money, fills up. And then at that point, they'll start dropping the prices. Well, in this particular case, information is, this kind of knowledge is money, especially when they're trying to weaponize everything. We have people that have said, as you guys know and heard, we have the power to take ET home. We've had it for a long time. There was even people that had commented, have you seen Star Wars? Yeah, we've gotten past that. We've already done it all. And these are just like what Michael Brown was talking about. He's like, there is a high-tech, system that's out there that's keeping us in the dark. And we're just the regular people. And the people that have the information and the technology are having a blast. And for people that are going onto these ships or are being visited by these other beings, or whether they're ethereal or sentient or real, I can walk through walls, but I can be right at your bedside and talk to you. Listen to the people that have the experiences. We've been trying to push this narrative for many years, where someone like Grant Cameron has talked about it, and he's on the consciousness aspect. But what's to say? Even if it's consciousness that's controlling all this, it's still real in the mind of the people that are having these experiences. And we need to get to the bottom of it. We need to find out, like they're fear mongering, saying, everybody, it would light the world on fire and it'd keep you up at night wondering and thinking, quoting Tim Burchett. And it probably will, because it's probably so fantastic of what it really is that it's defying nuts and bolts aircraft. Bob Lazar, S4, sport model, physical, actual craft that he's touched, and the cool stories that we're hearing about it now with the new movie that just came out. And I would love to believe in nuts and bolts, but I think it's a whole lot more than what it is. And we do need to start listening more, like you suggest, to the people that are the experiencers on this topic.
But then doesn't that bleed into something like our understanding of the fundamental nature of reality itself is backwards?
So
We base everything on three-dimensional thinking in a multi-dimensional universe.
correct. So we are basically walking around with blinders on, like you would lead a horse with the blinders on. So they're focused on one thing. And realistically, that's what everybody does in life. You were taught as a baby, you go to school, you learn so you can get a job, you can pay your taxes, you save your money, and then you retire. It's the same old algorithm. And, when you got to step outside of that realm of thinking and realize that there is things out there that we see currently in our skies, where our military sees in our skies, that fundamentally defy the laws of physics that we know of, suggesting that we are babies sitting in a universe right now that is more fantastic and more profound than we could even imagine, and we're not even scratching the surface of it yet.
Well,
And then if that boils down to that, and we figure it out that, let's say that these are what we considered to be gods, we're not gods, so that goes to, okay, there is no God and there's only chaos. I mean, if you
I
want
don't
to
believe
say
that.
if you want to say what disclosure is for black and white, disclosure is, hey, aliens are real, UFOs are here. There you go. But once you jump into this rabbit hole, the word disclosure takes on so many different other meanings. It's hard to put your thumb down on one.
look, I mean, we already know they're hiding technology, and I've used this example numerous times, but for new listeners out there, this might be something new for you. If you think of how they are holding things from us, all you have to look at is the airline industry. That's it. Okay. That's all you have to look at right there. For 70 years since Boeing came out with the 707, and they took it over the airwaves, and to show all these airlines, the pilot actually, he ended up getting fired for this, but he took the aircraft and he actually did a barrel roll in it upside down. And
That was awesome.
that sold the aircraft to every airline in the world, but he got fired for that because he took too big of a chance and a risk. But nonetheless, okay, that same body shape from 1970 to now is still in effect. Yes, some jets have got bigger, like the Airbus A380, or we know the Boeing 747, but that's being phased out. The 787, the 777. We know there's some big planes out there. But here's the thing, guys. If I book a ticket from Vancouver to New York, 50 years ago, it was still a 5.5 to 6 hour flight. Today, it is still a 5.5 to 6 hour flight.
And there's a lot more seats on them planes now, too, dude.
There's a lot more seats. It's a lot less comfortable. Okay. You get jammed in there like sardines. Yes, the planes are quieter, they're less pollutant, they're more stable than they've ever been before. Okay.
More
That's why
stable.
airline
You ever
travel-
flown into Denver in the middle of winter?
No.
Make sure you got a puke bag with you, because those flights aren't stable going into Denver. I'll tell you that much right now.
But what I'm saying, guys, is it still takes you 6 hours from the antiquated 707 going from Vancouver or Seattle to New York and back. And 50 plus years later, it's still the same speed and everything. Why? If they have this technology of hypersonic speed, we know they've got supersonic speed. Yes, I know it costs money and it costs a lot more fuel. But in that 50 years, have we not become more fuel efficient?
I think it goes back to what Werner von Braun said, and there was the conspiracy theory about the original Apollo program that those first astronauts that perished when the capsule caught fire there at the launching pad, that he was one of the astronauts was saying, "Why are you putting us in space on a tin can on the bottle of this?" Like we're a bottle rocket when you've got that thing sitting over there that we could be to the moon in like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And they took him out because he was going to sit. I mean, that's a conspiracy theory that's been around for a long time.
Well, just like the guy that made the carburetor that can get 100 miles to the gallon, and then he ended up disappearing as well.
Or the guy that ran the car that ran on water, for goodness sakes. I mean,
I get that, but that technology is there, guys.
and then
there.
Here's another disclosure for you, Dave. Here's another disclosure for you. What do we figure out? What happens if we find out we're an alien experiment that every time we screw up too badly, they reset us and make us start all over again?
Well, yeah.
It's happened time and time and time again. Planet X, Younger Dryas. It's almost a cycle.
Terry, to add to your argument, NASA, we said this 3-4 years ago on this show, that NASA was going to announce in the future, not that they found alien life, but they found alien life forms in the size of molecules and what are those little weird things that are on everybody? They sent a bunch up to the moon. I forget. It's a little bug thing that looks like a pudgy elephant with a suction nose. The heck are those things called? I forget what they're called.
Amoebas?
No, but now they're saying, well, we found these little mini life forms on Mars. Well, go figure. We knew that was going to happen. We knew that it was going to happen because that's how it starts. That's how it starts, Terry, with the mini life forms, because people can accept the mini life forms. They can't accept a 5-foot alien named Ock, okay, who is flying a spaceship and carrying a PU-36 space modulator that could, blow up Daffy Duck like Marvin the Martian. No, we're not having that, but we could get these molecules and the tardigrades.
Tardigrades. Yeah, tardigrades.
Tardigrades. Thank you.
They're cute little bears. Just little tiny things. But they survived on the space shuttle.
Yes.
Panspermia, Dave. There we go. You know what? There was a paper released just 2 days ago about the new technology that they used on Mars, and they have found organic life on Mars.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, right? That's what I'm talking about. Is we knew it was going to happen, Terry. We knew that they were going to do that they were going to be so proud. Look at us. We found them little bitty aliens running around, and now here we are, waiting for the big guys to come down in their massive 14-mile long motherships. They store, 2.8 million aliens.
Yeah, I just think we're alien prisoners, and we were all brought here because we are bad. We're just bad.
Michael Jackson bad. Except for Grant here, who shops at the Gap, one of about 38 people in North America that still do.
Right? I just ordered online.
I'd rather be an alien prisoner than to find out we were just cattle and the beings were feeding on our flesh, our fears, and our souls. So
I think I'd rather be an alien prisoner than shop at the Gap.
Fall into the Gap, just like you fall into the UFO rabbit hole.
Right?
Oh my goodness.
Guys, hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We have Grant Baker. We have Terry Hall. Up next, this is a story from the early 2000s, mid 2000s. and this is going to blow your mind. It's Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
The gap.
All right, boys.
Fall into
commercial
the
here.
gap.
So, here we go.
Our merch is Bigfoot approved. We have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have hoodies, we have socks, we have hats, we have stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can buy Spaced Out Radio merch and look the part? Our merch ain't ugly, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Lurking within the forested region of the 108-mile ranch, where the worlds of the normal and paranormal collide. CaribouCon is waiting for you, bringing together a panel of renowned experts in the paranormal, cryptid research, and UFO phenomena fields. Get ready for a spine-tingling weekend in the heart of British Columbia. Enjoy fascinating discussions, presentations, tours of local haunted areas, and skywatching. Learn from investigators, authors, and enthusiasts who explore everything from ghost hunting techniques to sightings of Sasquatch and beyond. Whether you're a seasoned paranormal researcher or just love a good spooky story, this is your chance to connect with fellow enthusiasts in one of BC's most mysterious areas. Tickets are on sale now. Grab yours before they're gone. Visit CaribouCon.com for details, tickets, and updates.
Are you ready to dive into the weird and wonderful world of cryptids, cartoons, and chaos? Meet Dirty Filth, Spaced Out Radio's resident cartoonist and master of the mysterious. Every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, join him live on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel for Cryptid Cartoons with Dirty Filth, a hilarious hour where he sketches bizarre beasts, shares mind-bending stories, and battles his mischievous cats. Whether you're a UFO enthusiast, paranormal fan, or just love quirky art, Dirty Filth filters the universe through his unique lens, creating cartoons that capture the strange, dark, and supernatural. Follow Dirty Filth on X at Filth1 or Facebook at Dear Filth for more filthy fun. Find his link in the description below.
Spaced Out Radio wants to hear from you. We love our community, and your voice truly matters. Drop a comment after every show and let us know what you thought. Agree with our guests? Tell us why. Disagree? We want to hear that too. We read every single comment. Jump into the live chat during the broadcast and be part of the conversation in real time. Got a killer topic idea? Your suggestions help shape the show. And if you want to take it even further, join our Patreon for bonus content and direct feedback opportunities with Dave and the team. This is your show as much as it is ours. Whether you're a longtime listener or brand new, we want your thoughts, your questions, and your ideas. And let's keep building this incredible community together. Spaced Out Radio, where the conversation never ends. What are you waiting for? We're listening.
With 5 explorable Gold Rush-era buildings said to be home to spirits of a time forgotten, the 108-mile heritage site in the heart of BC's Caribou region offers a unique opportunity for thrill seekers and history buffs. For an evening of historical fun, step into our guided ghost tours, where spine-chilling stories of gold rush legends and unexplained encounters come alive. For those craving even more, inquire with us about conducting a hands-on paranormal investigation of your own. And if you're truly brave, book our haunted sleepovers. Spend the night at our B&B inside the McNeil House to truly experience this historical landmark and its ghostly secrets firsthand. For booking or inquiries, go to haunted108.com.
All right, we are back. Hanging on out. We got about 40 seconds. Thank you tonight to Dutch Hank, Sirius, Amy, Area 54, T-Bone, and freaking awesome for the super chats. We greatly appreciate your great love and support of Spaced Out Radio. If you haven't yet, give us a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithms. Project Starlight, Terry Hall, welcome to SOR Chat in the chat room. Your mustache is incredible. Grant, where's your beard?
I've heard that barn that's in that commercial, Dave, is so haunted that the people...
Hold on, Terry, I apologize cutting you off. We got to go right now. Here we go. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Epigamic. Epigamic is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. We have Terry Hall from the Weird News of the Week. From the UFO Report, we have Grantavius Maximus, UFO Max, Grant Baker hanging on out. And we are loving tonight's show, and I hope you're enjoying it too, as we're going to get into a weird story. And how this came up, guys, was a couple of hours ago, I was scrolling through some videos on my phone, and all of a sudden, this story about a 12-year-old boy named Max Lowen came up. Now, in apparently 2012, this young man, who is a teenager at the time, literally went viral claiming that CERN's Large Hadron Collider broke our reality and shifted humanity into a parallel universe. Now, this is a kid. He does not have a scientific degree. He just had a real deep interest in this subject, but he strongly believes that even though nothing is supported by the scientific community, he finally feels that this is something that broke us.
That kid made a 0-point energy device too, Dave.
Yep. And was able to describe it with proficiency. I had watched the whole interview, and I believe he was talking to a gentleman, and I forgot the context of how that guy got in there. And it was in his, Max's kitchen. His mom and, parents were there as well, kids running around. And when you try to follow what this kid is saying, it is profound, to say the least. I mean, he had a theory, and coming from CERN has shifted its mission basically from just colliding particles towards actual dimensional mapping. It's a very interesting video if anybody wants to go watch it. That kid is something else. He's a prodigy.
You guys should really understand why that part of that story messes with me so bad. When we were in the Uinta Basin, when I was a young man, my dad was in the military. We always had ammunition laying around, and we were doing stupid things with it. Well, I ended up with part of a slug that had nestled. It had sat right here in my chest for years. I'm talking since I was like 14 years old. It was in the same spot, never moved. One day, we went out to this location. When I came back, I was feeling really ill. And as it turned out, I found out later that the bullet where it was on the complete and other, it was on the opposite side of my chest. It had moved. I mean, a good 8 inches. It had moved. No edema, no swelling, no bruising. I didn't know it had even happened. Well, Carl, he's known as Carl Crusher. He was there with us that day, and he said, and this has messed with me ever since that day. He's like, "What side of your chest was that thing on when you looked in the mirror?" Everything in the mirror is backwards.
Right.
He said, maybe the reason why you were feeling so sick when you got back is you stepped through some sort of portal. And it was like a mirror dimension.
You know, these are one of those things where, you know, when you start listening to exactly what this guy was saying, this kid was saying, you know, when you look at CERN and what they've been doing, it ties into so many things, including what we're going to be talking about here shortly with what's going on with the scientists and stuff that are disappearing. And it actually ties in with them. So Dave, you're on the right track when it comes to this. And when he stated that CERN basically opened a portal or demolished our previous timeline, and instantly, consciously, we all just switched into the nearest one over and made a completely new timeline, which also ties into the Mandela effect. And I mean, there's even right now, recently, they claim that there's actually a trend that's called Hell LHC, and it's a nickname, and they're creating micro black holes at CERN, and some of them aren't disappearing as fast as the Hawking radiation is telling us it would. And there was a minor like earthquake or a seismic event near the Franco-Swiss border just last week that CERN officials have attributed to standard, you know, activity tectonically. But, you know, when people that follow Lowen or Laughlin or however you say that kid's last name, they're claiming it was a gravitational sink caused by the collider being activated again. And so, you know, you go start going down that rabbit hole, it gets pretty crazy, because reality, when you look at what they're doing there, especially in 2026, and I pulled it up here just because I wanted to see this quote that I had, and it's basically they're looking for extra dimensions as predicted by string theory, but they're subatomic and they're mathematical dimensions, not gateways for people to, you know, or entities to walk through, so to speak. That's what the legal jargon is about it. But I mean, there's a suspicion there that they're doing a lot more than that. And, you know, especially when it comes to these scientists and everything that's going on here, and CERN operating at, you know, all these high energy takeaways that they're doing within a very tiny space. I mean, it gets pretty drastic really quick. And you start listening to what this kid said. And there was another gentleman that was just as interesting. I'll have to look up what his name was. And he did like a mathematical equation, was talking about dimensions and how they worked as well. And these kids, you know, they jump on the air, they go viral. And then that one was, he seemed a little autistic, not Lowen, but the other one. I can't remember his name right offhand. But he was insanely intriguing when starting to talk about it. And he was demonstrating it like a notebook on how it worked and drawings. And, you know, if any portion of this is even true, the implications are staggering.
Well, that kid made a video of that 0 point energy device that he built, and it was like open source.
Yeah.
It was amazing. That young man, I don't know. I've heard follow-up stories of him, but they're few and far between, and even finding those old videos is getting to be a challenge anymore.
Yes.
Well, here's what this young Max said. Okay. He believes that there was an experiment in 2012 where reality was shifted into a parallel universe, consciousness moving into a new timeline. And this actually gave a lot of credence to what people are calling the Mandela effect, where things have changed on people's timelines. Okay. Example, the curly Q and the letter F in the logo Ford. Prior to this, Ford has said that curly Q has always been there. However, there are people such as myself, and I got a key around here somewhere.
I do too.
Right here in my hand, that is an old Ford key from about the 1930s or 40s, and there is no curly Q on the F in Ford. Okay. I remember Cuba, the country Cuba, not being as large as it is today.
Oh, that one got me.
And it was east of Florida, not underneath Florida, but east of Florida.
It was east of Florida.
So when it comes to the Mandela effects and where this became true for a lot of people, you get things like the Bernstein Bears, you know, whether Curious George had a tail or not. You know, the biggest one for me when it first came up was this was many years ago, I was fighting fires and someone spoke up, you know, about the Mandela effect. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? You know, and they're like, oh, you know, Mandela, like Nelson Mandela. And I'm like, what about him, dude? He's been dead for years. And they're like, well, where did he die? And I said, he died in prison. And they're like, no, he didn't. He got released. And I'm like, wait. I know for a fact, like I could have sworn and bet at my whole life savings, everything, and said he died in prison, but no, he didn't. And then that's when I got kind of hooked. Okay, well, what else is there? You know, Fruit of Loom. I remember asking my mom what the brown thing was that the fruit were sitting in, and it
Bingo.
And it was the cornucopia. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Then there was a gentleman that I was kind of half talking to, you know, way back when, and he says, well, where's the Statue of Liberty? And I was like, New York. And he goes, okay, where in New York is it? I'm like, it's just off, you know, in the bay, right there off the river. And he's like, okay, and what island is it on? And I said, it's on Nellis Island. He goes, okay, what if I told you it wasn't in New York? It's on the other side and in Jersey, and it's on Liberty Island. And I would have called BS on that immediately. And sure enough, I looked it up, and that's exactly what it is. And these things start boggling my mind, just like Cuba being where it's at, how big it's at.
Okay. Here's a couple that screwed me up. This happened at my daytime job just the other day, where one of the ladies got her nails painted chartreuse green. I said, that's a nice color, chartreuse, on your nails. And she goes, this is green. Chartreuse is red. Okay. Chartreuse has never been red or a burgundy color. It has never been that color. It has always been green. Yet I remember a number of years ago, way before I even got into this radio show and was talking to my mom, and, you know, we'd go fishing in the river. We'd use wool as bait. She goes, well, what colors did you buy? I said, well, I bought some bubble gum. I bought some pink. I bought some peach, and I bought some chartreuse. And she's looking, and I'm showing them as she goes, that's green. That's not chartreuse. Chartreuse is burgundy. And I'm like, no, it's always been green, Mom. Not knowing about the Mandela effect. And this is where we get a little bit weird. Or how about this? This one also really screws me up, because lacrosse players have to wear what they call, for protection, a kidney belt. Boxers, it is one of the most illegal moves in boxing is a kidney punch. That's because the kidneys were always exposed from the rib cage. Now, if you look at the human body, the kidneys are above the rib and protected by the rib cage. When did that happen?
So just a note on this, I'm married to a doctor, and I asked her about that. And of course, she's younger, and she says, no, I think the kidneys are up in the ribs. And I said, well, yeah. And she's like, they've always been there. And I said, okay, well, where's your heart? And she goes, dead center. I said, well, that's not what I remember. I remember it being down and to the left.
Mm-hmm.
And the kidneys were lower. That's the reason why when we were kids in school, acting like we were doing kidney punches and ruining your kidneys, we were hitting you down, down below your ribs. And she's like, no, it's always been in the center. And I'm like, no, it hasn't. That's not what I grew up with. And I
they
remember
shifted
that.
about the time it went from a kidney shot to, oh, look, that was a liver shot.
Yeah, but your liver's always been protected by your, it's always been up. But here's the other crazy thing is when I was a kid, and I have pictures to this day that I can prove it with, the sun was always yellow. And my wife's like, well, and I said, why do you think kids always draw the sun as yellow? And now it's like calling Kleenex, but it's just, tissue. And Kleenex is a brand. Well, in this particular case, I remember it being yellow. Now it's like this hyper white, almost blue. And I said it wasn't like that. And there's many people that have remembered this. The biggest one that I just came across, which is a new reality for me, and I never even thought to look at it because I'm so focused on Antarctica and the North Pole. So millions of people vividly remember globes, and I used to have one, and I remember seeing it in my classrooms, that back from the 80s and 90s, and they were showing a solid, white landmass at the top of the world, and it was labeled Arctica, or just simply an ice-covered continent. And we knew that there was landmass below Antarctica as well. There were two of them. And now they're not there. It's not there. The reality is there is no land at the North Pole, and they're saying it's just a floating sea of ice over the Arctic Ocean. And that's what you see on modern digital maps. You can go to Google Earth right now and look at it. There has been ancient maps that have, different landmasses surrounding a little rock. They call that the magnetic rock or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But seriously, I remember this stuff. And then when you tell me it's not real and millions of other people are in the same boat, we all can't be wrong. Something a little bit deeper is going on here. And the mixing of timelines makes sense.
When it goes back to the whole Fruit of the Loom thing, the entire reason why I know that brown thing is called the cornucopia is because of Fruit of the Loom. Because I asked my mom the same thing. What is that? Oh, that's a cornucopia, son.
I got one for you. Do you remember way back in the day when gym socks, like they were made by Hanes, they used to have an L and an R on them for left and right? Do you remember that?
I do. I remember that.
Do you know that they say they produce them as symmetrical, or they were never left and right. They were always just socks.
No, they were angled like that. Your toes were angled that way.
Yep. And they were left and right socks.
I'll go to my grave with that one, dude.
Hanes, just like Fruit of the Loom, Hanes says they've never did that. I mean, okay, so millions of people, including myself, watched Sinbad play a genie on Shazam or whatever the heck it was.
Mm-hmm.
And he even says that he wasn't in a movie like that. But I vividly remember him in like the big flowy silk hammer pant looking clothes with the little, little outfit.
He was never funny. He was never funny, and I refused. I remember having conversations with my buddies saying, there's a movie I will never go to the theater to see because Sinbad was just not funny.
I remember, if I'm not mistaken, we had the VCR tape of that movie when my son was like 3. That would have been 37 years ago now. Right?
I want to get back to the heart for a second. Okay. Because when you pledge allegiance to the flag in the US, or you're paying respect to soldiers or whatever, or singing the anthem, you place your hand on your heart, which is on the left. During Remembrance Day for Canada, we always wear a poppy over top of our heart, which is on the left lapel of your jacket. Mm-hmm. And that's not where the heart is. We're supposed to now, and you don't see anybody wearing the poppy right in the middle of their chest. Or pledging allegiance in the middle of their chest, because the heart was never there. It was always on the left.
My first life-saving course, when I used to run the river, my first life-saving course, the field trainer, who was an EMT, your heart is right here. It's not right in the middle. It's right here. And that's why when you do CPR, the way that I was taught, which isn't the way that they do it anymore, it actually would have massaged the muscle and not cracked the sternum because you weren't concentrating over the sternum back then. I don't know. Your wife might be too young to remember that one, Grant, but they did teach CPR differently back then.
They did, and she doesn't remember that. I mean, when you just make a quick list of it, Fruit of the Loom, no cornucopia, Monopoly Man, no monocle, that screwed me up too. Pikachu for the younger generation, no black tip on his tail. Well, I always remember that. My generation, which is near and dear to my heart, anybody else that loves this series of videos, Darth Vader never said, "Luke, I am your father." You know, Curious George not having a tail. It goes on and on and on and on, and it's just, it loops and loops. And in fact, Dave's had a gentleman on his show a couple of times that could go for hours talking about different ones without even saying the same one twice. I watched Dave interview him for 2 hours, and every commercial break that we had to take, he was just trying to go right through it. I mean, he would have taken commercial breaks and everything.
Yeah, Brian Stavely.
That's exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got a Mandela effect game. He's now a realtor or something along those lines. But we got 3 minutes to go. We'll carry this conversation over to the next one. We could give example after example, but to me, it shows that there was some sort of shift in timeline, that it just doesn't make sense. We all, like, for the skeptics out there, we will all think that we were just misremembering things. Okay. But when you have so many people misremembering the exact same thing, there is something to that. So you have to wonder what caused it. Was it CERN? What were the Mayans correct? And the world did end in 2012, but we all shifted to a different timeline to make things right so we could keep on living. This is where I get confused, guys.
Well, there's a theory. It's called, if I remember right, it's the Schumann resonance theory. That if you follow it, you can tell where the timelines have skipped.
So there's a retrocausality with this, and this is where it gets really fun with the woo. Every time CERN or a high energy UFO or UAP, whatever the heck they're calling it, craft warps space-time, the present reaches back and selects a new logically coherent past. The changes are usually tiny, like a logo or label or a map detail. But because the universe is trying to stitch itself back together with the least amount of resistance, we're getting these really interesting Mandela effects. And that was a very interesting footnote that I had read a while back.
I don't know. The older I get, the more I get confused by the whole Mandela thing.
I think more people are starting to pay attention to this now, right? And when you go down the rabbit hole, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of these Mandela effects. You know, we're just picking out the ones that we've recognized. You know,
But going back to Max, how I mean, the kid didn't even have peach fuzz on his chin.
No.
And he was talking, stuff that would make Stephen Hawking scratch his head. Where does that come from?
We don't know. We don't know.
Consciousness.
But either way, he believes that there was some sort of time shift and that maybe we are not living in the same dimension as we once were. I don't know if I want to believe that or not. It seems logical. That's the worst part for me, is it actually seems logical, Terry, that this might be the thing. We got about 30 seconds.
I think that with as screwed up as the world is right now, back me up and take me to where it's split, because I want to go the other way. What do you think, Grant?
Well, it does get crazy with all the UAP phenomenon, UFO phenomenon we're getting in right now. I never thought it would actually become real. And I just want to see where it goes.
I want to see where it goes too, because I don't know if I like this timeline. There's a lot of nasty stuff going on.
Put
And
me
it
back
will
on the
come-
gravy train with biscuit wheels, baby. I'll be a happy camper.
We're coming back with Grant and Terry for the next half hour after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right. I love that topic. I do. We're going to continue it here. I'm still working on something.
Oh, I got way more to talk about when it comes to this, especially there's a, I'll have to look it up. Let me look it up, actually. It's called Orch. Okay, so yes, I got it. This is going to be a fun one. We'll have to enter this into the conversation. It's going to blow some people away. The microtubule shift, guys. Microtubule shift. Let's go.
I don't know. I think there's something else going on too. You guys know about the sphere theory, right?
Save it for the show.
Yeah.
Wait until we're back on.
The only thing we can talk about right now is how awesome Dave's beard looks. And mine's gone because and the reason why I'm wearing baby gap here is because I'm out looking for a job and just got told today that I need a CDL, which I'll have to get back, unfortunately, but that's okay.
You like feeling better?
It's okay, yeah. They hurt me today.
You know what really messed me up with the Mandela effect? This one is one that really Shaggy's Adam's apple. Do you guys remember Shaggy having an Adam's apple?
Yeah, it was huge, and it would always go.
According to the Mandela effect, Shaggy never had an Adam's apple, man.
Well, once again, save it for the show.
That one's burned me in the head.
I'm gonna slap you.
Oh, they keep going and going and going and going. There's tons of those things.
Fair warning, my baby just had a bunch of shots recently, and
oh, poor thing.
Yeah, he had a fever last night. Stayed up all dang night. I mean, I maybe got an hour of sleep, and then I can hear him in there right now, freaking out. So hopefully he settles down soon. So if I mute randomly, just be prepared to take over.
From 14 vaccinations to like 38 different vaccinations now.
I don't know.
No vax talk, guys. Erica Stover, how you doing? Badger, welcome to SOR chat.
I have been seeing a lot of new names in your chat here recently.
There have been. Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Smash that like button like it owes you money.
And share like your mama taught you. Don't be shuffles.
Sounds like Terry's house is falling apart.
Have you ever, Terry ever showed you pictures of his dogs? They're gorgeous. Yes. They're gorgeous.
One there, and one right behind me.
Just don't jump the fence in the middle of the night. You're not going to make it.
Yeah, don't enter Terry's yard at night.
Nope. Wouldn't be a good idea.
Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra.
Of course, one would be enough for all four of them. I mean, my dogs do know how to share.
I think I might have to close my window. It's freaking cold in here.
And yes, Adventures with Beth, I do have a poltergeist. And a hitchhiker, unfortunately.
Oh, I found our hitchhiker. We got rid of that real quick.
How? Then you and I are going to have a discussion. I'll call you tomorrow.
How you doing? Sorry, go ahead, guys.
No, it locked itself on. We had a dreamcatcher that was made by American natives here locally. And there's a stone in the middle of it. And we put it in my son's room because he wanted it, and then he kept saying there's weird things happening, and he then told us, he goes, I don't like the green dream catcher, it's taking all my good dreams. And he had talked about Shadow Man and the hat and all that.
Wow.
Took it out, got rid of it, it all went away because my wife walked in there and experienced it and felt the radiate,
Shadow
the
Man,
vibe.
what kind of hat
What?
did the guy have on?
1 second, guys. We're going to come back in 10 seconds. Wando, how you doing? Thank you, Deborah Rooney ×2. Dutch Hank, serious. Awesome. T-Bone, Area 54, and Amy, thank you for the love. Everybody. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We're talking the Mandela effect with Terry Hall and Grant Baker. And the reason why is there was this young man a number of years ago, like we're talking just into his teens, named Max Lowen. And in the mid 2010s, he went viral online. People called him a child prodigy because he literally questioned the mainstream idealism of CERN and whether or not they caused some sort of explosion within the Hadron Collider that knocked us all into a different dimension. And we're talking about that right now. Terry and Grant, go for it. Terry, I know you wanted to say something about the Mandela effect.
There's been a couple of them that really got me. The one that really got me, because I was a Saturday morning cartoon nutty kid and after school cartoons, was Shaggy's Adam's apple. It was supposed Shaggy was not supposed to have had an Adam's apple according to what they're saying now, but I clearly remember him having a very large Adam's apple and it going up and down. Snoopy's tail. I would remember Snoopy's tail being black, but according to the Mandela effect, it's black and white.
So I have a Snoopy here that I got from Ronald McDonald House. I'll have to bring it, and his tail is black on it. I do have one, and it's one of those deals where I used to read, the comic strips and Snoopy and Woodstock, and his tail was always black. And then, these things happen. Of course, I always read all of them, but when it comes to what they're interpreting as what the Mandela effect is, a lot of people is, it's hocus pocus. You just have, people that remember the wrong information. Well, once you get to a certain amount of people, if like 20, 30 people remember this, that's one thing. When millions of people remember it a different way, then you have a phenomenon that's more related to something's actually going on. There was this, I don't know if you guys remember the many worlds interpretation. Have you heard of that? Any of you? So for anybody that hasn't, it's one of the most solid theories in physics, and it's called the many worlds interpretations. Okay? And it suggests that dimensions where parallel timelines are splitting constantly. And so for every quantum event that occurs, which happens trillions of times a second in your body, the universe branches. And so your regular movement through time is you're not jumping into a new world, you're becoming the version of yourself in that specific branch. So every time you, let's say, take a left turn instead of a right, you aren't just changing your path, you are literally moving into the dimension where that choice was realized. And so you're almost walking through dimensions. And that's where a lot of people are saying, past, present, and future all exist at the same time. All you're doing is navigating through it, kind of like a little string. And then you also have what I was getting ready to talk about before. It's called the Oort or the microtubule shift. And the theory is I love this name because if anybody ever watched Ant-Man, his name comes up in that. So Sir Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff argue that consciousness is the moment a quantum wave collapses into a single regularity. Now, because we're able to perceive consciousness on a regular basis, it's doing it over and over and over and over so quickly that it looks like we're moving through it. And that's what we call time. So if this is true, our brains are essentially, reality selectors. on a regular basis, your consciousness is just stitching together a path through the infinite possibilities of the multiverse, and you're moving through that geometry of space, and what the Planck scale is, what they called it, with every conscious thought you have. So millions of times a second or faster. And so then you get the Mandela effect, which is evidence of this drift. And we're starting to become, realize what's going on here. So there's researchers that here even today are arguing that we don't just, stay in one perfect timeline, and it's more of a dimensional drift is what they call it. And the idea is because timelines are just really close to each other, which is why we're able to shift, like that kid was saying, Max was saying, like pages in a book, which is what that other kid I was talking about was saying as well. And he just laid the book sideways, and he's like, you can just move through these pages. And so for every decision that you make, that's where you're going into, and your consciousness basically slips into a neighboring page that is 99.999 whatever percent identical, except for a small few things. And it's been happening for so long. And now we're starting, especially with media being the way it is, and we can get information as quick as we get it, we're starting to see it more regularly and more often, the glitch in the matrix, so to speak. So this is why it feels regular to those, because this would explain why you might swear you put your keys on the counter, but you find them in your pocket, or why a logo suddenly looks different than it did yesterday, or because we're moving through dimensions constantly, but the changes are so small we rarely notice. But now that everybody's starting to get connected by the internet and instant media, that it's becoming a phenomenon. And that's kind of what they're stating. It's fringe. They call it fringe science. But if consciousness is what selects our dimensions, we can maybe intentfully move to a better one.
Here's one. When I took my son to Disneyland, the first time I took him to Disneyland, he was 2, 1989. We went to Cinderella's castle. According to the Mandela effect, there's only ever been one Cinderella's castle, and that was in Florida. Yep. The castle in Disneyland was supposed to be Sleeping Beauty's castle. But when we were there, it was Cinderella's castle. I remember that clear because he loved It Was a Small World so much. We rode that ride 4 or 5 times in Cinderella's castle.
Yep. Or just like, Tinkerbell flying over the intro to some of the movies and dotting the I with her little flick of her wrist and having the sprinkles come down.
Okay. What did what was the line that Roy Schreider said in Jaws about the boat? What did he say?
We're going to need a bigger boat.
According to the Mandela effect, he never said that in the movie. Now it says, you're going to need a bigger boat. That's not what he said. He said, we're going to need a bigger boat.
Luke, I am your father.
So I looked at the top 100 Mandela effects.
Oh, goodness.
I'm going to race through some of these. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, or Magic Mirror on the Wall. What do you remember?
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
It is Magic Mirror.
Get out of here, dude. No. No.
Magic Mirror on the Wall.
How many T's does the Flintstones have in it? Was it Flintstones or Flintstones?
Flintstones.
Flynn, no T.
Correct.
That's what I remember.
What is it now? Is it Flintstones?
No, they said that there was a Mandela effect theory that it used to be the Flintstones. 2 T's.
Huh.
I don't ever remember that. And I was alive when the Flintstones was a new show.
In Star Trek, and I've never watched a Star Trek episode, but I could tell you right now, okay, how many times have we heard Captain Kirk say, beam me up, Scotty?
Constantly. He would go, beam me up, Scotty.
It's never happened.
Baloney. Beam me up, Scotty. There's no intelligent life here. Where do you think the T-shirt came from?
According to some in the Mandela effect, it's never happened. It's never been said.
We just don't have the power, Captain.
right?
I can't give her any more, Captain. She's only a Chevrolet.
Silence of the Lambs.
I love it.
Was it hello, Clarice?
Hello,
Or
Clarice.
good evening.
Hello.
No, it was hello.
Yeah.
It's good evening.
Dude, so Anthony Hopkins literally I watched this one and it weirded me out. But there's also another one where he did this like a parody of it, and he also said hello in that one.
What's the most famous line from Casablanca, or one of the most famous lines? Casablanca.
Oh.
Play it again, Sam.
Play it again, Sam.
Oh yeah. So I play the guitar, and my dad used to say that. My grandfather, who's now 86, and that's where he got it from. And I remember him saying, "Play it again, Sam."
Sam.
Yep.
It never happened.
Baloney.
Then where the heck did that phrase come from?
No idea. According
You know
to
what?
the Mandela effect, it never happened.
I've got a VCR tape of Casablanca that we've had since probably 1981 or 82. I'm gonna go back and rewatch that just to see.
So here's when you're looking at the method of what's going on here, and if you the Mandela effect and how it's coming about and how we're seeing it, there were different methods that you could use to control it, and this is 3 of those methods, and you guys are going to kind of see where I'm tying this in on the 3rd one. So there's quantum meditation, which is what we've heard shaman using all around the world from way back in the day, and that's where they're using deep focus to influence the or collapse. And so the status now is they studied it at the Tiny Blue Dot Foundation, trying to figure out if that's correct. There's external stimuli using like light, sound, frequency to tune the brain, brown noise, and it's a frequency lock theory that everybody's talking about on TikTok if you want to go that route. But then there's the high energy physics, using machines, CERN, to tear the barrier. And it's highly classified and speculative is what they call it.
Philadelphia Experiment.
Dude, that was a great movie, by the way.
It supposedly for the fabric of reality when they kicked that one off.
Here's a couple of other ones that'll really mess you up. Okay. Let's start off with, I remember C-3PO from Star Wars being all gold color.
Yep.
And not with a silver leg.
And now he has a silver leg.
Now he has a silver right leg.
I binge watched every Star Wars 2 weekends ago, and in them they have the silver leg, and it's like a stain on a t-shirt when someone's trying to talk to you. You're going to stare at it.
You're
And
gonna
it
look
literally
at it.
distracted me because it was so off-putting.
All right. Did Mickey Mouse have suspenders?
Yes.
In Steamboat Willie, yes, he did.
Yeah. And he was chewing chew and spitting
Yep.
tobacco.
And spitting
On
tobacco.
this timeline, he's never had suspenders.
Okay, here's one for you. At the end of We Are the Champions, how does that
the
song
world.
end?
Of the world, and it's so a cappella.
According to the Mandela effect, it never happened.
Yeah, so when I heard that one, I did listen to it again, and sure enough, it says, "We are the champions, we are the champions," and it ends. And I'm like, dude, it ends on an odd spacing. And then you would hear him of the world, and it just
But he did, though, at his last performance, at their last performance at
Live.
Wembley Stadium, where he's wearing the yellow jacket, he actually says of the world. That's the only time it ever happened in public.
I remember the album in the 70s. And yeah. And you know what? Another one that got me was, and I've been singing this song to my kids forever, the Mr. Rogers song. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Wouldn't you be? Could you be? Won't you be my neighbor? According to this timeline, it's not the neighborhood, it's this neighborhood. I don't remember it that way. I've been singing that song to my kids for years. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, not this neighborhood.
so I don't know if you guys are into cars. You know Volvo, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Volvo, as I remember it, was just a circle with the word Volvo across the middle of it.
That's
Yes.
what my station wagon was like.
Yeah. So what it is now, and there was never an arrow in it, but it's an arrow pointing to the upper right, and it was always a badge with, but now there's an arrow in there which symbolizes for Mars is what they say, and most people are actually going out swearing that the arrow appeared overnight, and this has been around. Volvo's been around since 1927. Like this is I've had Volvos, and I've always seen it as just a normal Volvo right across the circle. Now there's an arrow, and I look at it, and it just looks odd to me.
I just looked that up. I don't ever remember that, Grant. It was
Yeah.
just a circle with Volvo through.
Yeah.
There wasn't an there.
It's weird now.
Here's another
just
one
messed
that'll
me
take you
up.
back to school.
Uh-oh.
Spell the word dilemma.
Dilema.
So I remember getting this one wrong on a spelling test because I spelt it Dilemma, but it was actually spelled Dilemna.
There's no N.
Dilemna.
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 That
doesn't
was
even sound
that
right.
was the spelling I remember. I got wrong in grade 5. Miss Riedlinger, who always pushed me way too hard, but thank goodness she did. Okay, I remember getting that wrong in a spelling test. The proper spelling of dilemma is Dilemma.
You're right. I misspelled it. It is 2 M's, but I'm also dyslexic, so.
I'm dyslexic and I was hooked on phonics, so I spell things how they sound, and I've always spelled it with 2 M's.
Yeah, I remember it being NA. Right?
Yeah, try being dyslexic and hooked on phonics, man. I mean, you can puzzle out what I'm spelling out sometimes, but it's definitely phonics.
You look at the Panama Canal. Many people believe that went east-west and it goes north-south.
Whoa. Hold on a second.
Wait a minute, back up.
How is that even? Now I gotta look. It's the Pacific and the Atlantic, man.
It's what connected the east to the west. It went
Yes.
east-west.
How in the heck is it going? Oh, now don't tell me if the landmass changes. I'm going to Google Earth right now, guys. I can't.
Well, hey,
I
if
can't stand
Cuba's moved, who knows? Maybe they took the Panama Canal and just kind of went,
it. Or they took South Brazil
Here-
and moved it.
To bring it back into topic here. Many remember the Panama Canal running strictly east-west, connecting the Atlantic and Caribbean to the Pacific directly, while modern maps show more of a north-south orientation.
Oh my goodness! Look at that.
Like, does this not hurt your brain, Terry?
yeah.
So
The more you guys keep doing this to me, the more I'm thinking that, when I was out in the Uinta Basin, maybe I did step through some sort of weird thing, man.
this looks completely different from what I remember.
I'm looking it up myself right now.
Don't do it. It is ridiculous.
Now,
This looks-
Smokey Bear or Smokey the Bear?
Smokey the Bear.
It's always been Smokey the Bear.
It's never been Smokey the Bear.
Well, that's pretty funny. It was Smokey the Bear, and then there was this owl back in the day. It was like a garbage owl or something like that. And they were on the same commercial. It was Smokey the Bear.
How about Looney Tunes? Looney Tunes spelled T-O-O.
No,
English, Terry.
Tunes.
T-O-O-N-S or T-U-N-E-S?
Tunes. It was Looney Tunes.
Yes, and the reason why it was T-O-O-N-S was because they cut the word cartoons in half. So you had Looney Tunes.
So which one are they saying it is now?
The music one, Looney Tunes.
Tunes, right?
Tunes.
That doesn't even
Yeah.
no. It's not tunes like cartoons. It's
Like musical
cartoons.
tunes, like
Toons.
yeah.
Looney Tunes. That's the reason why it was called Looney Tunes, was based off of the word cartoons. Like
I
it's
remember it the same way.
you guys are hurting my head.
All of this is hurting my head. Shifting land masses, land completely disappearing, cornucopias that aren't there that I've probably, if I go look, I've got a t-shirt in there from back in the day that's probably still got the label in it with the cornucopia. You guys,
Now, look, there are some radical explanations for some of this. Like, a lot of people will say the map of the world is rigged because of the Mandela effect, because they always project the United States to be much larger than what it actually is. But the reason why that happened was to play games with the communists back in the day. They expanded the size on the map of the United States to look bigger, so that way it looked more intimidating on a map elsewhere.
Well, not only that, but cartography, when it comes to mapping out the world in general, you're putting it on a 2D piece of paper. And in doing that, if you were to leave the land masses alone and take it from a spherical plane and put it on a flat plane, and I'm not talking about flat earthers here, I'm just saying realistically, you transpose it into a two-dimensional shape, all the land masses look goofy. And so they had to make minor corrections to make it look better. And what you're saying, that they made America look bigger just to mess with the communists, that doesn't surprise me that we would do something like that. But at the same time, they never fixed it. So we have...
It looks more pronounced. And it's funny because Canada, being the second largest country in the world, looks smaller than the United States than on a map compared to what it really is.
Well, it's shrinkage just because it's so cold up there, Dave.
Lots of shrinkage. That is completely true. Completely true.
And I remember it now. It was Smokey the Bear and Woodsy the Owl. Give a hoot, don't pollute.
Well, that's right. I do remember that. Give a hoot, don't pollute.
Yep. So it was Woodsy the Owl, and Smokey the Bear. I remember that from when I was a kid. I do remember that. So yeah.
Okay, here's a weird one for our American listeners. Mount Rushmore. Now, the four heads are Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt, and Lincoln, but many claim to recall seeing suits and collars, Lincoln's hand, or a different presidential pose. Additionally, some discussed a planned Mandela on the Mountain project to honor Nelson Mandela.
So I do remember them being in more retro clothing, or not today's clothing, but in the old traditional clothing that they had back then with the big collars and stuff.
Look, I've been to Sturgis 4 times, and granted, every time I go to Sturgis, it's kind of a fog remembering any details, but I do you remember Mount Rushmore with the classic? I've been there 4 times. I remember, at least I think I do.
Well, you know what? You don't remember it anymore because, I mean, if the past is being written by the present right now, because everything that we're going through is currently rewriting the past. So it's being re-rendered.
That was part of that theory that I read the other day, that even if we did go back and change something in the past, we wouldn't realize it now because history would have already rewritten itself by the time it got to here anyway.
Yeah, you wake up and it's normal. It's like you it's the butterfly effect.
Gentlemen, we are going to end hour number 3 next on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to kick things off with Swamp Dweller. Then we're going to get into a couple of UFO stories with the UFO report with Mr. Max himself. We'll be right back. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, guys, let's get the commercial going. We got about 5.5 minutes, okay?
Stop now! You're under arrest! Hands up! Don't move!
Don't get caught without your spaced out radio merchandise. We have t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, socks, hats, stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can look the part? We don't have ugly merch, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Dirty filth. Dirty filth. Dirty filth.
Object is heading north 045 degrees. It's definitely not a plane. It seems to be tethered to something. Is that a banner, Joe? Caribou Con. Does anyone know what Caribou Con is?
Caribou Con, one of the BC Caribou region's best-kept secrets. Until now. Join our panel of renowned paranormal experts for a weekend of fun and intriguing presentations. Go to cariboucon.com to book or inquire now.
Over here. Look at this.
Discover Spaced Out Radio on all your favorite platforms. We're live every single night with the best in UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, and the unexplained. And you can find us on all your favorite platforms. Head over to Instagram for behind the scenes and daily weirdness, TikTok for quick mind-bending clips, Facebook for community discussions, and X for real-time updates and hot takes. Wherever you scroll, Spaced Out Radio is there. So go search Spaced Out Radio on every platform, hit follow, and turn on notifications so you never miss a single episode. The weird is waiting. See you there.
The McNeil House is one of several buildings at the 108-mile heritage site said to be haunted by spirits of a time long forgotten. But would you stay the night? Along with guided ghost tours and paranormal investigations, Haunted 108 is offering a chance to spend the entire night inside the historic McNeil House by booking one of our B&B style sleepovers, where you can experience the hauntings firsthand, meet the resident ghost cat, and witness unusual activity. If you dare to turn history into a night you'll never forget, book your spot now at haunted108.com. Spots are limited. Will you be brave enough?
All right, we're getting ready for hour number 3 here on, a hiccup. Spaced Out Radio. We got about a minute to go here. Big thank you tonight to our super chatters. Amy, Area 54, T-Bone, Awesome, Sirius, Dutch Hank, and Deborah Rooney times 2. We appreciate the love and support. And Grant, you need a mustache.
Hey, Dave, I don't mean to jump in here on you real quick, but I'm going to have to exit stage left. Thank you for having me tonight, guys, and I will see you on the dark side.
Love you, buddy. Thank you for joining in.
Ciao for now, everyone. Thanks for having me.
All right. Perry Hall, everybody, escaping from us. Grant, we're coming back in 10 seconds. Swamp Dweller will be 3.5 minutes. We are into the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for joining us tonight as we bring you the UFO report. But first, Swamp Dweller, right before that, hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Epigamic. Epigamic is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. I live in Mississippi, and I am Christian, I guess, because I'm not actually sure what religion I am anymore. But I swear all of these experiences are very real. So, there is a patch of woods near my house that I have always called the creek because, you know, it has a creek. Garrett, my cousin who I fight with a lot, because we hang out a lot, have seen some things here. We used to go to this creek a lot before his parents found out that he was going there behind their back and stopped him because it's quote-unquote dangerous to be there. And maybe about the third time we dared each other to go into the deep woods. The reason I say deep is that there's an exceptionally large patch of nice woods that is technically part of the creek, but there is an immediate cutoff of darkness, pencil-thin trees, and an overall feeling of eeriness. We both started walking towards it and laughing at how scared we were. There was a loud screech, like almost ear-piercingly loud. We booked it out of there. I had just told him that I had known about skinwalkers, which was not much, I'm not going to lie, but it was enough to be scary, and we were both terrified. So we get out of the creek and sat right outside of it, breathing hard and looking into the creek. We kept seeing something black about the size of a deer, which there are not really any deer there at all. This thing was darting through the trees. We kept going to the creek, probably a terrible idea, but neither of us really cared if we died because legit everything sucks. And I found a wolf jaw. I found the right side of the jaw of a wolf. It had all of its teeth except one. 2 of the teeth were removable actually, it was interesting. It is obviously somewhat new because it still has the enamel on it, and it looked very saturated. That was the moment I started my bone collection, which is right next to me as I write this. Even before we encountered what we believed to be a skinwalker, we saw things darting around and weird sounds. we still often hear these things and see these things. There is what we call a demon in my house, who has the name of George. He likes messing with people, knocking on stuff, opening the bathroom door, moving in the corner of your eye. But he would not intentionally hurt anyone. But now recently, there's another thing I believe sits in the right far top corner from where I am, and every night, it moves around. It likes touching me where I do not want to be touched, aka the butt, the thighs, down my back and chest. This thing that I'm pretty sure is some sort of incubus or succubus likes putting what feels like a hand or hands down my shirt in places that I listed. It has happened twice now, and it's really getting on my nerves. There have been other times that Garrett and I have encountered things that I would not consider your ordinary animal. There are 2 abandoned houses up the street, one burnt down, and the other just far back from the road that it was forgotten. At both houses, and at our own houses, we have seen a white or possibly pink or peach-colored animal that looks like a humanoid. It walks on all 4s and has a gaping mouth and big black eyes. Every time we have seen it, we both go right back to our houses. We're too scared to try to figure out what it is, but I think it might be connected to that skinwalker from the creek.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories for you to listen to each and every night, so make sure you check it on out. It's time for Grant.
Sky, Grant's got the stories breaking through. What's hidden now comes into view. From distant lights to secret files, mystery tracks of mountain miles. Revealed, every signal slowly peeled. So tune in close, don't miss the facts. UFO facts, we've got your backs. With the radio becomes a song.
All right, Grant Baker, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to talk some UFOs with you. We've said goodnight to Terry Hall, and you are continuing right through the end of the show, so we appreciate that.
Absolutely, my man. Still good to be here, and this is going to be a fun evening.
It always is a very fun evening. Now, a couple of stories that are coming on out is about another potential death linked to UFOs. Now, Chris Sharp from the LiberationTimes.com reports the late U.S. Air Force intelligence officer Matthew Sullivan, who died in 2024 before he could, according to Representative Eric Burleson, testify in a federal UFO whistleblower case, is understood to have been involved in an alleged legacy UFO program. The Liberation Times further understands from sources that Sullivan was allegedly directly involved in the technology aspect of the UFO legacy program, believed to be related to an exotic vehicle suspected to be from non-human origin. Sharp was told that Sullivan carried out this work for a private corporation working with a U.S. intelligence agency, although his involvement in the alleged legacy UFO program is understood to have begun during his time as an Air Force officer. Burleson stated Sullivan was scheduled to come in for an interview. Within 2 weeks, he had suspiciously committed suicide. Burleson had said that he has grave concerns that Sullivan's death appears suspicious, suggesting the veteran intelligence officer may have been silenced before he could reveal what he knew. Sullivan had been contacted by UAP whistleblower and retired U.S. Air Force Major David Grush before the intelligence officer's sudden passing, which reportedly left Grush extremely distraught. Grush was helping him come forward as a whistleblower, Burleson said. Liberation Times understands that Grush and Sullivan had served previously together within the Air Force. As a U.S. Air Force intelligence officer, Sullivan served at a number of high-level institutions, including the National Air and Space Intelligence Center, the National Security Agency, and the Air Force Intelligence Agency. He was also deployed to U.S. Central Command and U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, and his obituary states that he earned a Bronze Star for his valor during Operation Enduring Freedom. Notably, Sullivan's funeral was attended by Major General David Abba, who served between 21 and 24 as Director of Special Programs and head of the Department of Defense Special Access Program Central Office. Abba described Sullivan as the brightest intellectual lieutenant I've ever met, and worked with him as his supervisor at Langley Air Force Base. Abba said Sullivan carried the burden that a select few in this nation have truly understanding of what is going on. Quote, there are not many people you can share that with, but those who carry that weight know it and understand it, and we all have to lean on one another. I watched that young lieutenant, despite all the shenanigans, mature into one of the leading thinkers on the truly hard issues with enormous implications for our country. It frustrated him to no end that we were so often could not get out of our own way. What's your thoughts on this one?
Oh boy, here we go, my man. So this is not just a coincidence anymore. The scale of this has moved from odd to full-blown federal investigations, because now we're tying these with General Neil McCaslin, Carl Grillmar, and Monica Reza. So when you have somebody like Matthew Sullivan, I mean, his involvement in what he's done is for many the smoking gun, because he wasn't just a theorist. He was one of the brightest minds, the brightest lieutenants, as being foretold by Abba. And he was the logistical link, so to speak. So before his death in April, or today, or yesterday, he was, as you said, a formal intelligence officer. He was going to be transitioned into a whistleblower or into that role. And he had a very specific value to the investigation when it came down to pretty much three things. So if you look at the Immaculate Constellation connection, he was one of the key sources cited in the report. This wasn't just a collection of sighting stories. It was a technical breakdown of, secret, unacknowledged special access programs. And, Sullivan basically reported that he had firsthand knowledge of how the military was capturing and processing UAP data, not only for imagery and electronic signatures, but I mean, you can find evidence of a chain of custody when it came to him. Unlike some whistleblowers, but talk about the existence. Sullivan was focused on like the paper trail, and he had inside knowledge. And when it came to them speaking about his knowledge, they said it was a weight that they had to bear. And it's getting to the point now where, yeah, we have the government basically saying we need a full investigation into this. This now is too much to handle, and they're calling it a crisis, and this is getting really bad really quickly. I mean, even the suicide is a red flag. He died just days before he was scheduled to give a formal closed door deposition to the oversight committee. And it just and they're saying that it was in good spirits. The guy was in good spirits, and they felt that his testimony was something he was doing for his patriotic duty. And I mean, this is the gap between I think we have a craft, and here's the GPS coordinates of the hangar where it's being kept. We're starting to see that somebody somewhere, or many people, we don't know, are actively trying to keep this a secret by removing people, and especially removing him. It is just absolutely insane right now what's going on. And when it comes to like congressional reaction, and it's turned into what we see as fringe interest, it's now a bipartisan safety issue. And so you have people who you say, okay, it's a healthy 39-year-old with everything to live for, suddenly ends his life. That doesn't make any sense. Including his family has stated, there's something odd about this. This isn't coherent or consistent with who he was. And It's getting pretty scary out there for people that are in the know. And it makes you wonder, did McCaslin walk away from this knowing that things like this are in the future?
Well, I mean, when we look at how everything just kind of flows through, I mean, the way these keep adding up and the body count keeps going up, and I hate to use that term, it's so vile in order to say that. There definitely is something going on. And we're already starting to hear, Grant, oh, maybe it's Russia, maybe it's China. The deflections are starting to go on now. Could they be the ones going after this? But the problem is they're all tied to UFOs. So
every one of them.
So with them all being tied to UFOs, what does this actually mean? Does it mean that there is some sort of black ops program with these Manchurian candidates who are taking out some of these people? Right? I mean, of the ones who've been allegedly murdered, there's never been anybody found criminally responsible. Why take out somebody? If you're not going to rob their house, or if you're taking them out at their home, which has happened a few times, you're not taking them out to rob their house or steal their car, or they didn't owe you money on a gambling debt or a drug debt or whatever. They just took them out.
Yep. And some of them, like I think it was Reza, when they went, or there was another gal, when they went to her house, her phone was there and it was freshly wiped. And you have people like Chavez and Melissa Cassius and Chavez. Both were longtime employees at Los Alamos. Both vanished in New Mexico under identical I went for a walk and never came back circumstances. It almost sounds like it's a gatekeeper purge. So as disclosure pushes towards 26 and infamously right now 27 that everybody's waiting for, there's certain interests here that are technically quote unquote cleaning house of individuals who know where the bodies are or the crafts are buried, or either trying to silence them to prevent them from testifying. And that's exactly what it seems like here, because these names, every one of these people are linked within this field. And you get the foreign espionage or foreign sabotage, like Patel's talked about, linking it to foreign, like what you said, China and Russia. They're eliminating the only minds capable of finishing the U.S. reverse engineering program, Sprint. It just none of it makes sense until you start tying them all together, and you're like, wait a minute, was there some type of novel, I don't know, structure or maybe a physics that we finally figured out and we're like, oh, and these people had knowledge of it. And they're like, we got to keep this under wraps because maybe we had a breakthrough somewhere and we found something that these people knew about and we're going to go forward about. And the people that don't want them going forward are like, well, just start taking everybody else that, that we can out. And then the people that still know about it might keep their mouth shut. Very, very dark times, my friend.
Lou Elizondo actually spoke about this, basically saying, this man was a UFO legacy program engineer and a DOE OIG special agent whistleblower with knowledge of UAP files, both mysteriously died while in talks with himself and Chris Mellon. He says, I was arranging for this individual to meet with members of Congress. And then he goes on to say that U.S. Air Force intelligence officer Matthew Sullivan was found dead in a Washington, D.C. hotel. He was about to go public and talk to Congress. I mean, we just have so much of this happening right now. I just don't know where this body count is going to end.
Unfortunately, it might not for a while until the loose ends, so to speak, are tied up. That's looking like what it's boiling down to. something big happened and the world doesn't know about it. But now they're starting to get an idea that it's going to be either UFO related, physics related. Some maybe in 2027 there's an armada coming towards us that they know about and don't want us as normal globe people to say, hey, we may fear that we're in danger. Of course, that's more fear mongering, and we just don't know where it's headed. And for anybody out there that may be listening to this that has this type of knowledge, get it out as quick as possible. I do know that since this most recent death, that a lot of whistleblowers are actually, it spurred them to go faster to report what they know. And I hope something comes of it, and I hope that these were not in vain. These unfortunate people didn't die in vain, and that we get to the bottom of it. And ultimately, the people responsible for this almost warlike action is held accountable.
This is one of those situations, though, where we may never see the truth. That is the scary part about it. I mean, if it is an inside job that is taking out these very brilliant scientists with multi-million-dollar brains, this is what gets scary, because we're not being able to find out, Grant, the truth behind what's happening here. It's easy to say, like, look, the United States government, as Science Bob says, hires thousands of scientists. They have thousands of scientists across the country learning everything from agriculture to military, from clean water to societal norms. They have it all. So people are going to die. People are going to die. I mean, heck, our own chat room this year, within the last year, has had 4 or 5 people of our regulars pass away. Unfortunately, it happens, and it sucks, but let's call it reality. But when you see patterns starting to form, and I know you're a pattern guy, this is where people are now scratching their head. This is why the mainstream media has caught on to this. This is why the president of the United States has caught on to this, because people are taking notice that something is wrong here, Grant.
And not only that, I mean, if you look at the development that's been going on, it feels like it's been pulled straight out of like a sci-fi thriller. The only problem is the implications for actual transparency are pretty sobering when you realize this is one of those things where just because of what they're tied to, all of them together, astrophysics, physics, new age metals, and it starts adding up very quickly because it's not random. This is not random. And it's basically looking at don't look at me behind the curtain, but your actions are speaking louder than words at this moment, because you're taking these brilliant minds out for what reason? What did you find? It's devastating, to say the least. Families are hurting right now. But in the scientific community, there's a deficit here. Why is this happening? And when you look at the implications of taking people and unaliving them, or making people walk and disappearing, you're kind of stuck there's a big hole there. There's a big void of what is really going on. And it falls back to Tim Burchett, and he's like, it'd make people sit all night and think, or, the world's going to be on fire. People are going to be up in arms over this. And I don't know what it is. I would like to know what it is, but at the same time, I'm almost scared to know what it is.
I think we're all a little intimidated by this. Now, we're going to continue with the UFO report. Grant Baker, known as UFO Max around these parts, he'll be with us right till the top of the hour. This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott. All right, buddy, we're clear.
Sorry, I forgot to mute.
No problem, man. No problem.
You know, I got a few names that I want to name once we go back on air, because, and I'll say it again when I get there, but what does this mean for other people that have this knowledge, and who might be next?
That's interesting. Yeah, we can continue the conversation.
I wouldn't want to work at Los Alamos right now, I'll tell you that.
Let's go here.
You play video games with your son?
No, I'm trying to stay away from that.
So my 7-year-old, almost 8-year-old now, but he's gotten into video games and talks about them all the time with me. And so when he's sleeping, what I'm doing right now, I get into his games and kind of overpower him a little bit, and then I turn it off. I get back in the same position and I turn it off, but he's got like everything he would ever need. So every time he gets in there, he's like, "See, Dad, every time I come back in, I got this, 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 and this," and he thinks he's the one doing it. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen.
We got about 3 minutes, buddy.
Oh, not a problem.
What are you playing?
Far Cry 6 right now.
What?
I've already Far Cry 6. I've
What the
already
hell
beat
is part? I'm sorry. Say that slower.
Far Cry 6.
Far Cry 6.
Yep.
What is
For
it?
anybody, it's a first person shooter game, and I've beaten it a handful of times. I'm into first person shooter games, and I'm the kind of guy that goes out, and if I was playing MMO, people don't like it when I play MMO, just because they never see where I'm at, who I am, nothing. And I reach out and touch people, and usually not in good ways. It's with high powered 50 caliber silenced and scoped sniper rifles. It's, I get a blast out of it though. But I'm just basically getting all his stuff back real quick. So when he plays it, he's only allowed to play it on weekends when he has no school. And so by the time I play, a hour every night, he has way more than he ever had before. And then he gets all excited. "Look, Dad, look what I got." I said, "Yeah, where'd you get it at?" "Oh, I just found it." "Okay." It's fun. I mess with him a lot.
90 seconds.
All right.
One minute.
Oh, it's like, man, that went quick.
Always does.
I mean, we blew through a half an hour like it was nothing.
Thank you tonight to Dutch Hank, Deborah Rooney ×2, T-Bone, friggin' awesome, Sirius, Dutch Hank, again, Amy, and Area 54. We greatly appreciate your love and support, everybody. So thank you very, very much. And go to cariboucon.com. Get your tickets right now. Store is open, as it always is, spacedoutradio.com. So check it on out. Here we go. Final half hour of the UFO Report and tonight's show. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to get to Grant Baker from UFO Max right off the bat. Grant, you wanted to say something for the last half hour regarding the whistleblowers.
Correct. So, something that's been going on and now people are getting scared. I decided to kind of look into not who's next, but who might be in the limelight or in the crosshairs of what's been going down here. And if we look at the patterns from the FBI and the House Oversight Committee that we're currently tracking, the at-risk list generally falls into two camps. So you have high-profile whistleblowers, which we know are coming forward, who have become public figures, and quiet scientists, who most of these people that this has been happening to are people we haven't heard of previously, especially in this field. So if you go to the whistleblowers, the next in line, you have people like David Grush that could also be targeted, or even Lou Elizondo, unfortunately. There's a gentleman named Jason Sands. He's a newer whistleblower who has, firsthand claims of experiences with the NHI, or non-human intelligence, because he represents like the next wave of testimony following Matthew Sullivan. So his security is reportedly being handled with extreme caution by congressional allies at the moment. But then you also have like deep tech scientists, material scientists that work for JPL or Los Alamos, which is a place I would not want to be working at right now. And then, or even plasma physics experts, Nuna and Lorario they were MIT. And, there's a fear that anyone working with magnetic reconnection or 0-point energy, they're being targeted to prevent this breakthrough that I've been talking about. And it's just one of these things that even institutional gatekeepers do know too much, like former Aero personnel, or the list goes on. And these people you got to be careful. Now we're seeing that it's happening, and the people that are in these positions know that, okay, I'm doing the same stuff. Is it going to happen to me? I guarantee you that these people are thinking that. And, you got to, like anybody that has a chain of custody. So anybody claiming to have documents, and they can tell you exactly where these are coming from or where the craft is. And, these are the people that are probably trembling in their seats right now, and we need to protect them. There needs to be some type of institution that they can go to quickly and say, hey, I need protection. And I really hope this comes about very quickly, especially with what's going on today and how our government and other governments are looking at it. And it just needs to happen as quick as possible, I think.
Here's a statistic for you. If you want me to give you one, I think you'll like this. According to Polymarket, there is an 89% chance new UFO files will be released by the end of the year. That is up from 83% in December, and it's up from, or down from, or it's down 13% right now from where its high was. Now, Polymarket goes through a bunch of statistics, and you can obviously invest in that. And if you want to be able to I bet on it, why not? Go for it. But the UFO files, 89% chance that this could be released by the end of the year. Do you believe that?
They might release an image or a highly redacted paper that doesn't really mean much. and that would make that statistic very plausible. It's the content of what they're releasing that I have a little bit of scrutiny with, because we everything that they ever have released is usually a nothing burger. We used to use that phrase a lot, and it's not the end of the year that I'm thinking of. A lot of people are hedging their bets on 2027. And that, honestly, 2027 has become the X on the calendar for the disclosure movement for a lot of people. And it's not just based on internet rumors. It's being driven by specific warnings from former intelligence officials and legislative deadlines. So this year we might see something. I'm not going to put too many eggs in that basket. Next year, I would like all the rumors to be true and to have some massive release of information. I would like it to be now, but the slow drip that they're doing is, I think, going to stay steady and strong. It might speed up a little bit, but I don't see it like a massive explosion of information.
I still am very curious, and I know people are very excited about the potential of the disclosure. We don't know what's going to come out. We're well over a week now beyond when the 46 videos were supposed to be released, and there is no update from Anna Paulina Luna or Secretary of War Pete Hesketh, who is supposed to give the thumbs up on this. And normally what happens in these situations, at least this is the modern day excuse for it, is, well, we have to go through each and every one of them to make sure that there is no names or nothing top secret from top secret locations that we're allowed to release. So that's usually the excuse on that. It's like with paperwork on the JFK files. They were all supposed to be released, but then they said they needed another 6 weeks in order to get them out because they had to go through each piece of paper through different chains of command to make sure that there was nothing or names or locations or timelines that could be traced to affect current agents. And that's why we got a lot of redacted, blacked out paperwork. And I think they're doing the same thing with these videos, making sure that, these 2, 3, 4 minute videos are cut down to about 16 and a half seconds. At the blurriest, black and white, 1950s style video that we could ever see, Grant. That's what I think is going on.
I couldn't agree more with that sentiment, and I have a little funny side clip to add to that. If the private sector has a massive breakthrough and a company or a foreign adversary at that cracks like the propulsion code first or what's actually going on, the US government loses its monopoly on the secret. And that can happen at any time. And, this cat and mouse game that they're playing, not only between, citizens of the world, but also with countries, whoever has the smoking gun and whoever's going to open up first, they're going to be the ones that set history. And I'm just kind of sitting back, waiting to see exactly what's going to happen. The US is notorious for not saying much. They brag a lot, but then nothing comes out. The big nothing burger. Oh, you have all these people saying we have this, that, and the other. And I'm kind of channelizing the fact that if the private sector does come out with it first, or a foreign adversary comes out with it first, more power to the people. We need to understand what this is. I don't know if it's just weapon based that they're trying to keep secret, if it's propulsion they're trying to keep secret, or if it's something completely so novel that it would blow every single person's mind and maybe ruin the world. I don't know what it's going to be. And I would love to be a fly on the wall when they're having these secret meetings in a skiff somewhere.
Why do you think the scientists are being targeted?
I think they're being targeted because they know too much. I think we found something, whether it be physics-based, propulsion-based, or something completely different, like I've been touting before. I think we found something, and I think it's big, and I think it's maybe so big that it could freak out the world. Like, oh my gosh, what is this? It might not even be UFO, UAP, non-human intelligence related. It could be something completely different. We don't know. But I think we found something. I think we figured something out, or something happened that completely changed people's paradigm. And now they're running scared. The people that want it hidden are taking drastic measures to keep it that way. And it's something big. You don't just start taking people out, especially people that are in the news now, and the governments are starting to look into it, and the FBI is starting to get involved in this, and they're still taking people out, or they're making it look like a suicide or an accident. Doesn't matter how it is. It's the connections are speaking louder than words, and I believe 100% we figured something out, and I would love to know what it is.
What do you think it is?
That's a very, for lack of a better word or a better phrase, I believe we figured out a quantum understanding of consciousness and the real reality that we live in. I believe there is a shift in what we truly are, and non-human intelligence is only a minor surface irritation on the whole bubble of what it really is. And I think I think someone accidentally got a really good glimpse and said, oh my. And when you look at people like, David Brown, when he was talking about it, he said it's a high-tech system that we live in. Well, I think it's more than that, and I think they're trying to hide what it is. And it's going to have everything from Bigfoot, UFOs, non-human intelligence, consciousness, quantum theory, Planck theory, you name it. The fact that people can do remote viewing, I believe that has something to do with it. It's all, every single one of us is tied together with it. Every single one of us.
Here's a theory that I have, and what makes it scary for so many people. I think it has to do with the truth behind the existence of humanity.
That could be 100% tied into that.
I think that's what it is. I think that there is some religious shift on this, that it's either going to prove that God is real, or one of the other gods is real, or that we were created by alien hybridization, or put here from a different star system, and that's how it happened. And I think there might be, now I know I'm going full on woo here. I got tinfoil on the brain right now. Okay, it's just invisible for our video audience who can see it, or who cannot see it, I should say. But I think there is some religious connotation that could upset the entire apple cart, whether you're Christian, Protestant, Catholic, Muslim, Buddhist. I don't care what religion you are, Pastafarian. I don't care. But I think there is something that absolutely deals with the origin of humanity that is going to shock the world. And that's what they are afraid of, because people, the 8 billion of us, if we actually woke up together and saw how these maniacal megalomaniacs are treating us, whether it's in a democratic country like I live in, a republic like you live in, Grant, or whether it's communism or monarchy or whatever it may be, I think it's going to upset the entire apple cart, and they are wondering, oh crap, if this is the truth and these aliens come down here and reveal this truth, or the people from the inside who have signed NDAs say, screw it, I'm going to release it anyways. There is a lot that could happen, because whether we want to believe it or not, outside of very few countries, when the people rise up, and it may take decades, but when people rise up, they usually get what they want, until they become naive again generations later and forget how history can replay and repeat itself.
I couldn't agree more, actually. That's a very eloquent way of putting it. And realistically, I think if it is consciousness based, or even the fact of we figured out where we came from, who created us, or if we were created, or how anything works when it comes to our reality, it's gonna change everybody's mind on it. It's a huge global paradigm shift, and it could disrupt religions, but it also can disrupt, just like you said, the elites, the megalomaniacs, and it disrupts their power and their control. And that's what they want us, is they want us in a position of people. They want us to be controlled. And if we open our eyes to it, they can no longer control us. And that would change every aspect of life that humanity has grown to know and become accustomed to. I'm talking from normal currency exchange to how you view other people. It is so drastic that if something like that was to happen, then they lose control and then they will perish. And a whole new, I don't want to say a new world order, but a whole new world understanding, I think, would come into play at that point. And a lot of people might get hurt. A lot of people might be really upset about it. I think it's just the next evolutional step for humanity.
Imagine, and I'm throwing this out here. I'm not saying this to be blasphemous. Okay. But just imagine if Jesus Christ was an alien or an alien hybrid and they know it, right? Imagine that. That is going to screw up so many people. And I'm saying that as I'm a Jesus guy, I'm a God guy. Okay. But for the sake of conversation, what if that's what they know? What if they know that the Mormons have been correct the entire time? What if it's the Buddhists who've been correct? Right? Or the Muslims are correct, or the Catholics are correct, or the Protestants. You name your religion, doesn't matter. There's 5,000 of them on this planet. But imagine if one of them is correct, or imagine something else, okay? That Noah's Ark was actually a spaceship taking all the animals off, a mile-long spaceship.
I actually believe that. I think it's not taking two of each animal. I think it was a DNA sort of storage bank, kind of like a seed bank.
You never know.
Yeah.
But these are the questions that maybe they have the answers to. What if they are having a machine somewhere at a base that's very secretive that could look back in time? Like it's believed that the Vatican has one, where they could look back at the birth of Jesus, or look back at how the planet was created, or however they could do that. Imagine
looking glass.
they knew. They would know. Right? Why doesn't the Vatican allow people or scientists to look in their secret vaults?
Control.
You're right. It is all about control. And if it comes out with these legacy programs, shadow governments, shadow religions, that we are being played by these oligarchs, because I never get to use the word oligarch, so I'm going to use that one right there. Thank you for the thumbs up. But if we're being played by all of these oligarchs in order to keep control of humanity, then really we're never going to gain control until somebody, breaks in and steals it all, like Indiana Jones. We need some Indiana Joneses, Grant.
Yes, we do. Let me ask you a question. And I know this is kind of left field, but I'm pulling it back to Matthew Sullivan. So, or even others that had proof that these craft that we're seeing operate on a conscious frequency. You've heard that before, correct? You just kind of clued me in on this. So rather than just like combustion or gravity, it would change everything from an energy production to the very nature of religion and governments. If we could see or maybe even reject the Big Bang and see consciousness as like an organizing force of the universe. And it puts you right in line with what some of these scientists were investigating before they vanished. And they were moving to a more post-materialist physics where, you know, mind is greater than matter. And it makes me think, because it makes you think that the suspicious deaths are an attempt to stop us from learning how to use our own consciousness to interface with the tech. Or like you're saying, it's something big, and it's something profound, where maybe Project Looking Glass still exists. Maybe the Vatican does have a portal that we can look back in time, or even into the future, or maybe connect to the universe as a whole with a faster than light speed communication that's instantaneous. And we figured out everything. Maybe we are on a prison planet and we can't leave it. Maybe we are a human alien hybrid. Maybe we were just a little bit too vulgar for the universe, and they shipped us out to Australia like they used to do with inmates and put us on this planet. You know, it's, who knows? It's very tantalizing to say, what if?
And that is the big question. What if? I mean, we can only use imagination up to a certain point, because that is where we are going to, you know, have these deep conversations. And unfortunately, as much as Grant, you want the answer, I want the answer, and the rest of our audience may want the answers, we really don't know truly what's going on. And we're not going to know until somebody has the audacity to take control, and there's that word control again, to let the information out. But the more our planet grows with people, the less chance they have of doing that. Grant, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Great time with you tonight, as well as with Perry Hall, as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocket in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Yes, we shall. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, like this guy right here, we got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Grantavius.
Heck yeah, my man, that was fun. Holy mackerel. That went by way too quick.
Oh, yes.
I don't know what my controller is. I look at the chats, but man, that was fun. I don't know, man. There's something big. And you know, you hear Ross Coulthart and all these people talking about 2027, and then this starts happening. And it's like, what are they trying to hide? What are they trying to hide? Enough to start taking people out.
So just so everybody knows, my phone is going to ring here in a couple of minutes. WABC in New York is going to call old Davey and say, hey, I wonder if Walter's going to actually keep me on for more than 4 minutes this time. We'll see where this goes. I never know how long he's going to keep me. That's what makes doing his show so difficult. Some days it's like 3-4 minutes. Other days it's like 35 and we're taking callers. Weird. Lex Diaz, how you doing? All right. So I'll keep going until they call.
There you go.
I know I'm on the list tonight. I saw Walter sends a list out every night. You do. You do.
Yeah, you did great last week too.
Thank you.
You always know when he's going to cut you off though, because he starts talking about the shop.
Yes, that is true. That
So
is true. The minute he asked me, how can people find you?
Yeah.
Well, that's where we know old Walter's going to kick old Davey off the air. And I just sit there and say, I guess that's it. I guess that's it for tonight. You know, it's the way it is.
Yeah, it's fun.
What am I doing here? We're going to need that one. So I'll just wait. The phone hasn't rang yet. It'll ring soon.
Well, I'm using my phone to do this show, so I can't prank call you right now.
I know. And you would. You're that guy.
Yes.
You're totally that guy.
Jump onto the show real quick, stick my tongue out, do a little googly moosey eyes, and bounce out.
You know, one of the reasons why Walter likes me on the show is because I know how to shut up.
No.
That's what he told me. And I just laugh.
No, that just secured my position to never be on the show.
What's that?
I said that just secured my position to never be on that show.
It's a tough thing. Like it's very hard to learn.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very hard to learn. And because you want to make sure that you're giving good information, you want to make sure that you are pushing strong. You know?
Yeah. But keeping it short and sweet and then keeping your peace after that.
Oh, 1 second.
That car is literally a Honda Civic flying down my street, and it sounds like a fart can all the way down. Oh, I found Bob Lazar's house on Google Earth today.
Oh, aren't you nice?
Well, they put a picture of him in a video on YouTube, and he's at his property. And I saw Mount McLaughlin in the background, and I was like, wait a minute, I know where that's at. And so then I cruised over to the other side of the lake, found the exact spot he was standing. And I was like, I gotcha. I know where you're at, Bubba. Guess I shouldn't have said that.
You're like his personal stalker.
Oh, I love the guy. I would literally buy the most expensive cut of beef ever, and whatever he drinks, I don't care. And just him and Jim, I would love to have them both over and just sit there and shoot the shit with a couple beers and good steaks and never talk about it. Just sit there and have a good old time. I could talk to that guy for hours. He's not even in town, man. His car hasn't been in his shop for seems like a couple of months.
Give me 2 seconds. Isn't he on tour?
I think he is. Yeah, he's making his rounds. When is he coming to Spaced Out, man? Let's go.
I don't know. Oh, he's under control, shall we say. Oh my God. You know, I got to tell you, I'm not a real wrestling guy. I haven't really been since the Attitude Era. But all of a sudden, this wrestler who's brand new called Danhausen, where he goes around running around, you are cursed. The guy is freaking hilarious. Oh my God. Like he wears this devilish face paint, but it's all in humor. And he's always trying to like make a quick buck here and there. This is the most brilliant character I've seen in wrestling in a long time, man. And I don't even watch wrestling. And this guy is all over the place.
I don't even know what he looks like.
Not be bringing me on tonight. I forgot my phone number. Oh well.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. That just means I get to go to bed earlier. Right?
I'm
Okay with
all
that.
game for that. Yeah. I'm gonna go eat some bread pudding that I made yesterday, and which
You're
I
a bread
shouldn't do.
pudding. People look
I
at
am.
you and they're like, that Grant Baker, he's a real bread pudding.
Reminds me of Between Two Ferns when oh gosh, the girl that was on Hunger Games, can't remember her name right offhand, but he's
Jennifer
like,
Lawrence.
yeah, and he's like, that's very off-putting, and she's like, you should be off-putting.
Oh yeah, that is a brilliant show.
Oh,
there they are. All right, guys, I got to run here.
Bye.
Hello. Happy. How are you? All right. Hello, number one. How are you tonight? Well, there is allegedly another death in the scientists and investigators into the UFOs. This one allegedly happened in 2024, where a U.S. Air Force intelligence officer named Matthew Sullivan was about to go public and testify in front of Congress, behind the scenes, not in public. And about 2 weeks before he was to testify, a guy who was non-suicidal apparently decided to commit suicide, suspiciously, according to Representative Eric Burleson. So this is another strange tale, Walter, adding to a list that is ever growing of these UFO people who just seem to either disappear or end up killing themselves or murdered under very suspicious circumstances. The other thing of note with the ones who have had their lives taken from them, what is also interesting is nobody has ever been arrested for these cases. And that is something that is very, very intriguing as well. Well, what I'm saying is a lot of these scientists have been murdered. And it's like they don't have any suspects, and a lot of them were murdered within, maybe a hotel room or maybe in front of their house. You would expect that if somebody was murdered in front of their house, maybe they were trying to steal a car. The perpetrator was trying to steal a car or break into the home or something. And there's nothing like that. They seem to vanish without a trace. Same as yeah. Yeah, we're at 12 now. And this is a list where I think what people are doing now is they're starting to look through, and now that the media has really hopped on this attention, they are starting to really put together some old cases of people who have vanished, and they're looking into. I mean, anybody could Google deceased nuclear scientists or deceased military scientists or intelligence officers, and that's where they kind of gain the trail. Then when you start putting their names together, and maybe you have an insider within the CIA, or maybe a friend or a family member, you can actually get it potentially traced to see if they were working on some sort of secret programs. And that's what they all seem to have in common, is the fact that UFOs seems to be at the top of the martini glass. And now we're just trying to figure out why this is all happening. And there are no clues. We know that Congress is looking into it. We know that President Trump has the FBI wanting to look into this, but where does it go from there? We don't know. Yeah, but in this case, it does seem to be going down that road of, I like to use the example with my audience, like these, we see these movies like The Bourne Identity or The Manchurian Candidate, where they build up these super soldiers that are meant for missions like this, taking people out and leaving before anybody notices, and you're gone without a trace. And I'm wondering if they have people like that working on this on on some of these people. I don't know if it's robots, but I think it could be something a little bit more strange. I mean, you know, there are a lot of people who believe these MK Ultra type programs are well underway, and that they are playing with people's minds and trying to turn people into super soldiers that really have no understanding of pain or guilt in taking out anybody that they're on a mission to do so. And that's what it comes down to. You can always find us at Spaced Out Radio on YouTube. You can download our show for free on every major podcast network, including Spotify or iTunes. And of course, our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we do not have any ugly swag to wear. There we go. There we go. Just like that. It's just done. That's what I do. It's kind of cool. It's about 1.4, 1.5 million listing on WABC, on WGN in Chicago, KMOX in St. Louis. So it may be small sometimes, but it's very important for what I do. Make sure that I never miss a show with Walter, because it gets our name out there. It makes people curious. We've seen a little bit of growth from doing it, but I'll be honest with you, it's radio, so it's more of an ego thing. It really is. I just love doing it. I love being on the radio. Radio is my thing. Everything else in life that I've done has sucked compared to radio. I will go to bed in a couple of minutes because I am editing the show. It's what I are doing. All right. There's segment 4. Here's segment 5. Thank you, Grant Baker. And one more. I would say today was a successful show, considering we changed guests like just a couple minutes beforehand. Then again, I'm biased. Tomorrow night on the show, crypto guru Ronald Murphy will be here. We love it when the guru is on. Guru time, man. Guru time. To the rest of you, I am going to get ready to go. Do me a favor after the show, once we get everything into the hopper here, make sure you do me a favor. Leave a comment after the show. Let us know what you like, what you didn't like, and your opinions on everything from disclosure to the missing scientists. What do you think's going on there? I want to know your opinion. Put it in the comments. Don't forget, if you can, it helps with our algorithms. If you don't mind throwing your thumbs up on it, we'd greatly appreciate it as well. We will see you tomorrow night, everybody. Thank you, Amy. Hello. I love you. Thank you, Amy. Hello. Amy. Hello. Amy times 2. Deborah Rooney times 2. My lady's taking care of me tonight. That's nice. Dutch Hank. Area 54. T-Bone. Freaking awesome and serious. Thank you for the love tonight, guys. I really appreciate it. We'll see you all tomorrow night. Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.